really glad he stepped up. Surprised, if I'm honest, I'm surprised he got his first win before Somfler did. But any new wins in VLF1 definitely welcome to see, especially with a driver. He'd done a couple of races before this season, but this being his first full season, really happy to see him pick up that win.
Yeah, and I'm also on par with your response in this one because seeing him with a win, and like you said, you picked him as a dark horse, and I mean dark horses still perform, but with people like Sunny Cydox in the mix and Gaben usually also something who's really strong, a dark horse can just perform that much. But he just proved that he's not only a dark horse, he has the pace to just be the I don't know what's one higher than a dark horse. The winner, the I don't know, something up there.
At that point, they're just a horse, you know.
The fastest horse on the grid. Yeah, he has just more horsepower. Haha, badum. All right. Um, enough about that one. Um, uh, we gonna real quick uh, update you guys on what is currently happening. The qualifying one is gonna be skipped. Our race director decided that we could just as usually when we only have 15 people in here is gonna skip Q1. He's just doing a stroll around the track, so the game is not completely shitting. It's not completely um, unbehaving himself. Afterwards, we just jump into Q2 and Q3 like usual into the race. And interestingly, here we have news that it's gonna be a day where it's 92% likely it's gonna rain during the race, and even likely to rain during qualifying 2 and 3. We don't have the percentages on qualifying, but a rainy race, Charmander here. Oh, I mean, this track is boring. I agree on that one, but rain always spices things up. Uh,
You, yes, and I think lap one is going to be interesting now. I think there will be several people who go to apply the brakes at the end, going towards turn one, and nothing's going to happen, and we might get a bit of a pile up. However, I think rain has a tendency, especially towards the top of the grid, to make people a lot more careful and therefore not really go for anything. So we'll have to see whether people still go for things or not, and overall what happens. But yeah, it should be interesting at the very least.
I mean, are you sure? Because I think you're a little bit skeptical if the rain really performs or changes that much of the track in how interesting a race can be. But I mean, I don't know. Rain always spices things up more than one way because it could be the most boring track. It's just a straight. But during the rain, okay, well, straight wouldn't work. But just ovals. Let's say ovals. But at this point, I think Troy's gonna kill me. But ovals can be sometimes, boring because they're just circles. But now let's spice a little bit of rain in there, and suddenly I feel like you can have good drivers that just don't perform that well, or other drivers that love the rain, and then you put in that mix that there's always a little bit more chaos as well because some drivers perform better in the rain, some drivers that are usually really quick and don't perform that well now, they obviously don't just want to give up their performance or just their the position because they're like, I need the points. Obviously, they want to fight for the championship position. The drivers that love the wet track, they're like, now it's my time to gain points, and no one is really yielding. And then suddenly you have a scenario where like either two cars go next to each other, and just fight for the position. Where I would love to see that one, especially in the technical part in sector 2. Or you have something like a crash here and a crash there, and you don't even know where to look at this point.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the track. I think Mexico might make things interesting, especially having to relearn your braking zone after such a long straight in the wet. And I think in general people tend not to practice wet tracks, even if it's a country, let's say like Singapore, which has a very high chance of it raining. People still tend not to practice wet tracks, but yeah, I think it is very dependent on the driver. I have yet to be blown away by a wet race that wasn't season 3 Brazil. Um, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's changeable conditions because that's when it really gets spicy.
All right, I agree 100% with you. But I won't talk any longer. I will give it away to our lovely on-track commentary team, featuring also you and our lovely man, Crandon.
Yeah, boy. Thank you, Sandro. And that was a fast use of the teleport. Normally saved for a Cassidin in mid lane from Alex. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. If anyone didn't know, I don't see why they would. Now they do. Me and Alex had a great mandate on Friday. We got to see John Wick 4. I would recommend it. It was a very long show with lots of violence, lots of bloodbath, a lot of spectacle, and a lot more interesting than Wet Mexico for sure. So, with all my plugging out the way, that's Mark Commode on the payroll. We're now here for a race. It's going to be fantastic, apart from when you realise that it's Wet Mexico. But I'm going to be commentating with you, so I'm sure it'll be fine anyway. Yeah, what are you thinking for the winner on this one, Alex? Is it going to be one of the top two as usual? Are there any outside chances?
I think obviously you always the safe bet is one of Zydox or Sunny. I think they are, fairly sensible bets. But with Rain coming in there, I'm gonna go spicy. I can see a Somther win.
You know what? I think my whole heart begs for a Somther win. I've had it enough on track where I've rooted for other drivers over him. I remember rooting for Hodgson over Somther when Hodge got his famous 2023 win in Styria. Somther has deserved a win for a long time now. He's been race winning caliber. He's still kind of an outside chance, even though he's really fast. I don't know if the wet weather is going to play into his hands. The fact that he's got a 3 grid penalty really won't, but I've seen really fast drivers overcome those. Certainly Max Verstappen in real life, but let's not talk about that too much because everyone will turn off. Yeah, Somford certainly does have the capability to go fast, go around the track, get some really good performances in. The other one I want to consider as well is Gaben. So Gaben has been performing really well this season. He is in P5 in the championship overall. Scored P2 4 times. So yeah, got 101 points, doing really well. He's also top of the sweatboard for the dry time trial version of Mexico. With that said, it's the dry version. We think that qualifying will be dry based on our latest information. But my latest information, as Travis in production says, is that that's absolute horse baloney, and that it's light raining already in Q2. I can see a raindrop on the monitor in the background. So let's see what we can bring you here. Let's see if we can bring you the powerful action of VLF1. I'm actually going to bring up my separate spreadsheet, which tells me this is race number 124. This has come long from inauspicious beginnings when Trav said to Bauer and Drigger, can we get a championship going on F1 2018? Here we are 6 seasons later and 124 races later. Me, Travis, and Alex were winning races and championships, and now we're all washed and doing production instead. And yeah, we're handing over to the next generation is the best way I'm going to put this one. And we see that our drivers are in Q2. This is a 15-minute session. We start with 15 drivers. There were 17 on the roster lock. I believe it's Naor from Project Ferrari and Maka from the McLaren constructor that haven't been able to make it. Whether they'll make it to the starting grid in the race is another matter. But with those two not there, we start with 15, and we're going to end Q2 with our fastest 10 drivers for the showdown. Any favourites, Alex? Anyone who you think is going to be right for the drop, or anyone who you just want to watch anyway?
I don't know really. I think it's going to be interesting. That as we already have a yellow flag, I think people are starting to back up, but people coming out on the soft tires to set a lap, even though it's raining a bit, maybe feeling a bit grip. They want to get that fast lap out there before the rain gets any heavier. But I think when the conditions are like this, I think anyone's game for the drop.
Yeah, you're right. The wet weather is a great equalizer. It's a good way of sort of neutralizing all those massive advantages that our faster drivers can get in the dry weather. Even if our top drivers, so Sunny and Zydox, I keep coming back to them because they're taking the championship by storm. Even if they're able to get really fast times in the dry weather and they've started to train in the wet weather, they're still prone to errors. It's easy to slide on the S section in Mexico that we're seeing Monty come towards now. It's several undulating left-right turns. It's hard to control. We're seeing him wiggling already. That's not Monty. That's everyone. That's how that section goes. To see it in light rain conditions is also pretty treacherous. In a lot of cases with light rain, drivers will be using the intermediate tire compound. It's the green tire compound, and it's built for those light rain conditions. You've got those grooves in the rubber of the tires, which sort of gives space for the rainwater, gives you a bit more traction in the wet weather, even if it doesn't give you the fast performance in corners. So the drivers are not using those tire compounds. They're using the regular slicks for dry weather, which means they're taking the increased double Vegas roulette gamble button on all of the traction. You're going to be seeing wiggles like the ones we just saw from Monty on that POV.
As we see Gaben coming in with the fastest lap, 7/10 quicker than the rest of the grid. Man's flying on track.
Yeah, like that's a 0.6 gap on Sunny and Zydox, the big two. Any faster time than them is it's got to be commendable. To absolutely smash those times, it's a real nice sign. I really want to see Gaben come in hot. Gaben has not won this season. His best performance, as I said, was P2 4 times in Austria, in Saudi Arabia, in Japan, and again in Sao Paulo in round 11. So yeah, it would be a great result to see him win, but it would be foolish to call that off of a single lap in qualifying. Yeah, we've got Somther taking a little chill sesh on the side of the road. I think it's a bit of a meme to say. I should keep this thought to myself as a neutral commentator, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I saw that a Merc was going slowly and was off the track, it wasn't some. I didn't think it was Somther. The first conclusion was not that it was Somther, and you all know what I mean by that one. But Somther has let a lot of drivers past there. It's obviously tricky to get around certain parts of the track. It will be a real battle for priority in qualifying and in the race. Somther's just letting a few guys take those corners. Somther, if he wasn't planning to be on a hot lap, he certainly isn't now.
Yeah, excuse me. We see Hodgson not setting that as I say that. He just comes around, sets a lap. For what he currently is in the danger zone, and you're so far into qualifying now, and it's been raining a bit. Our time's going to start to improve. We see, the bottom of the grid being 3 seconds off the top, and that is indicative of me of the track just getting slower, and we might not see much more improvement at this point.
Yeah, I immediately wanted to pull up the season 5 records. So naturally, you know me, I've done it. There was about a 2-second gap in dry conditions in qualifying 2 last season. The first part of Q2 was in dry conditions. The gap was about 2 seconds between Sunny with a 114 and Crispy, who was in P11 with a 116. So it is one of those tracks where you see divergence. You'll see divergence because of the weather conditions, but you'll also see a bit of divergence just because of the people that have smurfed hard and really prepared for this track. There was one time when I shouldn't reveal this on stream, but I basically posed as Calm for a qualifying session. So I changed my Steam name, changed my Discord name, changed my car number, changed my car livery, and just pretended that I was Calm in the lobby. Everyone suddenly got confused when Calm suddenly dropped speed by like 1.5 seconds per lap. It's that sort of circuit where the top drivers, like Calm back in the day, like Sunny Zydox, and apparently Gaben now can really put some distance between themselves and the drivers behind.
Yeah, it's a very divisive track. I think, as alluded to in pre-quali analysis, that the track is very punishing in terms of going off track. There's no sort of wiggle room, especially through that sector 2 and going into the stadium section in sector 3. The game does have a habit of really punishing you, as we see.
Oh,
that
Alex, you passed the curse extraordinaire right there. Wilder was like, game punishes you by going off track. I think I'll have a little look to the right here. What have we got? Oh, hi there. There's a woman in a low-cut orange top. I want to go talk to her. Yeah, the card didn't, mate. It's gone.
Yeah, that was certainly an interesting route to the nearest McDonald's, but it's the one Wilder has taken anyway. So unfortunately, that will see him eliminated from Q2. No chance of setting a faster time. But yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, no way of quantum tunneling through there. He was looking from the McDonald's, but Pyro, who is the McLaren captain, will not be having a happy meal tonight. He will be watching his only driver in the keep qualifying yeet himself out of contention. That was nearly a follow-up there as we watch Envy go around the circuit. Yeah, it just underlines for me that Wilder I've seen come on leaps and bounds this season. He's gone from a sort of having reliability issues every few turns, spinning almost on command, like when Calm tried to get into F122. And he's become really reliable. He's picked up points a few times. To see drivers like Monty, Wilder, Envy just spin almost by design every few corners really shows how dangerous this track is. Envy is on the intermediate tyres as well. So he is on the right tyre for the current situation. I think you said earlier, Alex, that if the rain were to slow down, we might see the times improving. For me, because we're seeing the switch over to the intermediates and we're seeing more of the raindrops on the incoming camera, because this is totally a camera that's at the race and not virtual, it means that the times will instead get slower. And for me, that means that Gaben's already got the fastest time in Q2. It's going to take quite a lot to beat him, and I don't see any other driver doing it in any condition. As if to underline that, there's the DRS gone.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see much or if any improvement from any of the drivers. So unfortunately, it's sort of the calm before the storm of Q3 at the moment.
Yeah, in season 3 it was the storm before the calm, whereas now it's the calm before the storm. We have 6 minutes of basically just horsing around, to use Pyro's amazing analogy from earlier. Drivers are retiring in the pits. They're just looking at their setups. One thing I think our drivers will do here, it's typical that most drivers will practice on the dry version of their track. It's the fastest version and lets people acclimatize to the track while giving them the shortest reactions. It's the best form of the track to get practice on. However, there's always a chance that we could have rain conditions. It didn't happen for the last, I'm going to say, 9-10 races. We might have had light rain in one race early on this season. But to have rain forecast for almost the entire race, it's definitely a first in Season 6. We haven't had it for a while. We haven't had it, I don't think, in this calendar year in 2023. So it will really sort out the men from the boys here. We have got the 5 minutes before the end of Q2. So I think we might see like a Hodgson strat. He's on his outlap already, to underline my point. Drivers will just try and get used to the tyres, try and get used to what they have to do to change their braking points, or maybe change the remaining parts of their setup that they can change in the Parc Ferme to maybe alter their front wing angle. Normally you increase it when it comes to wet weather. So just get used to the track, get used to swerving around, get used to the section that we're seeing Hodge go through now, the S's in the middle. Because you don't want to invalidate. You definitely don't want to crash into, let's say, Wilder corner earlier on in Sector 1. So, it's the balance of getting practice versus not retiring your car unnecessarily before that top 10. That story changes, by the way, Alex, for the bottom of the field, because currently Glenn, Envy, Hodge, and Blaze are 4 minutes away from joining Wilder in the Elimination Chamber. And that's not just something on Tent's WWE save file. That is not being able to participate in the final 10 drivers getting into Q3 and deciding pole position. So for those drivers specifically, it's really important that they get every bit of improvement they can in the few chances left available to them. We've got Monty coming around the track now. He's actually doing a better job there, navigating the S's. Let's see how Envy handles it here. Something retiring in pits, no drama. Yeah, that's glistening is how I'm going to put that on there.
Yeah, it's a very shiny, very slippery track, and we're seeing drivers coming out of some corners struggling to keep the cars under control. As you were talking before, the drivers that are currently in the drop. I don't know if you've experienced this, but sitting out of Q3 and just sort of waiting can sort of take you away from what the car feels like. And going into a wet race, that is a very dangerous scenario to be in.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The Inter's a comparable length to medium. So if you can do the race on two mediums, you can do the race on two mediums. You can do it on two sets of Inters, which is then legal if there's rain involved. Normally, you need to use two different sets of compounds. As Monty proved in season 4 Silverstone, you can actually run it on one wet compound or one intermediate compound with 0 stops and do the entire race. So yeah, there's going to be a nice little constraint here, as the drivers have 3 sets of intermediate compounds. Really, that means saving 2 for the race and using the third one in a combined Q2 and Q3. We've got a good best part of 3 minutes. In fact, no, just edging slightly under 2 now. Envy is in the drop zone. Let's see how he handles these 2 sections. He's going right into the wall there, and that is a spinola, or as they say in Mexico, el spinadero. He's gone straight into the barrier. He's off the racing line there, but he's also off of qualifying for Q3. So the best way I can put that is he's got a nice little 15-minute break to review where he went wrong.
yeah, that's not something you want to see, especially when they're not really out for any reason. It's just practice. Fortunately, that won't kick him out of Q3. He was already eliminated. So, yeah, he just now gets the walk back to the garage to think about what he's done.
Yeah, it's going to be a rainy walk to the garage. He's halfway along the track, so it's a nice 2-kilometer walk. No one's going to pick him up. The taxis in Mexico are going to charge some steep rates for those tourists who've never been there before. They've got to pay extra money for having to dodge the Formula One cars on circuit. So yeah, Envy's going to be low on funds by the time he gets back for the starting grid. 1 minute to go here in Q2. A whole host of our drivers have set their best times already with worsening rain as we've gone through the session. Gaben leads with absolutely barnstorming just over I think it was 117-ish. We've got most of the top field, that is Sunny and Zydox, within a second. Somtha, Miffy within a couple of seconds. 117.0 confirming their cheers production. And yeah, a massive gap from the 117 at the top to nearly the 121 at the bottom. Blaze at the foot of the standings, now 120.8 in the pits. Improvement on these times is very unlikely in these conditions. It's also worth saying that the Q2 is where the tyres are locked for the race. So the drivers that have set their best times here will be starting on that compound. If they've set the best time on the soft tyres like Gaben did, and to be honest, that's most of the grid, they can start on the intermediates with no degradation. If, however, they set them on the intermediates and they are 20% degraded, then they will be going into the start of the race with degraded tyres. Not what you want to do. Checkered flag in this session in Q2. Wilder had retired his car already. Envy joined that list. Glenn is not racing any further. Blaze has not come out. We're watching Hodgson now. He's already on a red invalidated lap, so that will be a confirmed 5 eliminations. Glenn, Envy, Hodge, Wilder, and Blaze won't be in Q3.
Yeah, and I think the big surprise there has got to be Hodgson going out in Q2. I don't think anyone really expected that, especially after the performances he's been putting in recently. But yeah, he's definitely going to be very disappointed with that one. So as we see the drivers sort of coming in for, after their cooldown laps. Obviously, some drivers choose to finish the lap, make the session go quicker when they cross the line. You immediately lose control of the car, and the game will skip to next session, as we see. The final driver going across the line there. So, as Cradon alluded to, the final 5 were confirmed quite early on into the session, with the rain getting heavier. But overall, I think the big takeaway is that stunning fastest lap from Gaben. He's definitely looking like the guy to beat right now.
Yeah, well said. It's worth saying that that time is still off of the vintage times that we've seen from Flyer and Calm in previous years, but I defy them to try and set times that are similar to that form when you've got that inclement weather. So Gaben can only really compare himself against the contemporary opposition of Sonny and Zydox. Sonny and Zydox are very powerful opposition, as the World Drivers' Championship table would tell you, and Gaben smashed them on that first lap by 0.6. So let's see if he can do the same in Q3. This is now the showdown. This is where our top 10 drivers battle for pole position, and the rain is already quite heavily falling down. I don't think, looking just at the display, that it's falling down heavily enough for the full wet tyres, the blue compound. However, the intermediate tyres will be equipped from the start here. We won't be seeing a cheeky lap on the soft tyres. Jeff won't be talking about a crossover point. We will see either inters all the way or inters giving way to wets as we go through this Q3. So 12 minutes to set a potential pole position. Wet track giving all the potential for shocks. Should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting to note, drivers all coming out on the intermediate tyres. It's not wet enough for the full wets just yet. We may see those during the race. But at the moment, just coming down, probably for some of the drivers like Gaben, who only went out on the softs, it'll be a nice fresh set of intermediate tyres. They will have been happy to have kept a fresh set going into the race. So, yeah, we'll have to see which driver is our new wet weather master, because in previous seasons that was Flyer for us. And we haven't really had many wet races since Flyer left. So, yeah, we'll have to see who the new wet race king is.
Yeah, I'm frantically looking, Charmander, through all of the races that we've had so far this season. I'm looking at the tyres that drivers have used in the races that we've had. This is race 13, so we've got 12 to go off of. I said earlier in the broadcast that we had maybe one wet race earlier on in the season. I'm going to revise that now. I think this is the first time in Season 6 in 13 races we've actually had any rain forecast in the race, and therefore we're going to have the tyre strategy battle and potentially more Spinola battle going on. It's pretty unprecedented, especially for the drivers who have just joined for this season. I think NV's first real contribution is this season. He was in maybe one or two substitute races. Same situation with Nawar. So yeah, we've got our newer drivers like those guys in Wilder trying to acclimatise to the wet weather, but live in a race and presumably without much practice in these conditions, because you don't suddenly go and practice wet weather. Dry is the default. So yeah, it could be fantastic. Our drivers still looking to set their first times of the session. Okay, what I like to do at this point is just see if we can get on board with a driver, go around the lap. Who better than Zydox, our boy in Haas, or Sonny, our guy over in Sector 1? Let's switch between them and settle on Sonny. He's halfway around the track. So he's in Sector 2 at the moment, coming through the first stadium section. Normally there are corner names. I don't speak Spanish, so we're just going to refer to them as squiggly bit and S's here. This is the S's. They are also squiggly bits. This is normally where you see the invalidations, a couple of smooth corners. I can't really talk about the gear demands in the wet weather conditions, but it's very, very easy to lose traction and spin to one side or t'other, particularly if you don't have much time to react between the corners. We're about to come up to stadium section here. We'll see if Sonny will participate in the time-honoured VL tradition of donking the bollard. And there it is on the right. It's going to be left alive by him. I think if you hit the bollard, that's the track extension limits. So he's going to keep it clean, come around the long, sweeping final corner to the right, and cross the line. Fantastic time, but I'm going to say that for any time that lights up in purple because it's the first time on the board. 125-ish.
As we see Monty coming round, and Franklin also coming round about just under a second off. We see Gaben fastest lap by over a second. Gaben's really feeling it today. You can tell he's out for blood. I don't even think during Calm's era of dominance we got qualifying laps that were over a second away from P2. That's kind of sensational, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I can't agree more, Alex. Like, to have Sonny and Zydox there as well, they're almost like scientific control group checks on each other. Because if you think Sonny's just having a bad lap, and then Zydox comes along and sets a similar time, just for Gaben to have absolutely smashed both of them, it really just underlines how much better Gaben is driving. And given that Sonny and Zydox have almost won everything they've touched, they've been the Midases, the twin Midases of VLF1. Yeah, I'm loving that Gaben is absolutely demolishing them right now. For Gaben not to have had a win this season as well, it would be way too early to say that this is his race to lose, but he's putting great credentials in the field if he can set that level of time. He's actually intimidated Sonny so much he's going straight into the box. Sonny has had enough of that. He's going to change. I was going to say he's going to change tires, but I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. It's only 3 intermediate compounds you get for the entire day. So it's not about the DRS because there's none in the wet weather. I don't think the battery is as constrained in the wet weather. It can't be about the tyre compounds. So I guess they're doing the 1 lap chill strategy. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be they have the least amount of fuel in as possible, and just trying to go for the fastest lap. As we see Mancho jumping up to P2, and then Zydox immediately taking that P2 back. They've now got that gap to Gaben within the 1 second barrier, but it's still a ridiculous 8 tenths away. And as you say, for a driver who's not won, he's come painfully close on at least 2 occasions I can think of. I think looking at this, Saudi Arabia, he was 1/10 of a second away from the win. And the first Brazilian Grand Prix, he was 300ths of a second away from a win. So he probably has to be the most unlucky driver when it comes to getting a win, and he really wants to get his first win here today.
Well, fellow race winner Alex, I can't know what you're talking about. We're obviously too skilled to talk about missing out on wins. But yeah, it must be tough. They must be crying like the tears that are decorating this track right now in the wet weather. They must be salty, like us having to watch and commentate on a wet Mexico halfway through the season. But then again, what's this route from Shadowhopper? He's taking the shortcut. There are no stars here. This isn't Rainbow Road, my friend. Only that way lies only Pitt's dishonor and Brandon hitting you with a fat penalty. He's actually going to take a bollard with him. That's 2 bollards, 10 points for each, 20 points, and a race disqualification for you, my friend. He's into the pits, and you know what? You love to see it. That's absolute banter.
Yeah, I mean, he's going for the ultra shortcuts on the track here. I think probably what happened there was the car stepped out on him and he didn't want to risk spinning it into the wall, so he's just like, I'm gonna take the easy route here, come in the pits, go for another lap after my car's been fueled. So we see Monty coming around the S's now, I believe on his hot lap. He's currently P10. I'm just gonna stop talking. Whenever I try and talk about anything a driver's doing, it just ends up like this.
Yeah, Monty,
sorry, Monty.
now Gonti. He's yeah, that's what happens when you don't take the S's correctly. I'm being too harsh on him. The S's are difficult in dry weather. They're difficult to go past, and they're difficult to not get invalidated on. But the biggest danger is the one that we've just seen from Monty. If this was a real race, we'd have the medical teams over to his car right now to check if he was okay, to extricate his presumable corpse from the crumple zones of the car. What we're actually getting is just his car's been DQ'd. He's going to be in P10 when we get to the grid of the race. Unfortunate for Monty, it is an occupational hazard of going around those few corners. To be fair to him, the line that he was on was mostly correct, apart from the bit where he did a wiggle as he got round to straightening his course onto the final straight. And a little wiggle does not a smooth course make on the wet weather of Mexico after the S's. And yeah, mortal coils, they write themselves. Gaben's going around that same section now. Let's see if... I think Gaben's doing really well and won't do the same thing. Oh, no, cast a curse not working this time. I think you have to mean it. It's like an unforgivable curse in Harry Potter. Gaben is swerving from side to side like a roller coaster. He's coming into the stadium section. This is his outlap, so he is, I want to say, warming up the tyres. Really, I think he's showing off in front of his Mexican fan base, coming round to the start. 3 minutes left. Let's see if he can put down another barnstorming lap, like the one which made him so far ahead of Zydox, Mancho, and Sonny. He still holds the 0.8 delta that you talked about. That was the case 2 minutes ago. Yep, still the case. Gaben has a chance to extend his lead here.
Yeah, Gaben's really just gunning for it as we see him go through the end of Sector 1 here, coming up to Sector 2 now. This is probably the hardest bit in the wet. It's such a slow part of track. You have very little downforce going around here. So it's interesting to take a nice narrow line through there. Keeps it within the track. was nicely done for him. Yeah, as we see him coming up to the S's, is anything going to happen? Probably not, because of the level of driver Sonny is. He would kick himself for losing it around the S's. We see him set what I believe is purple sector 2, and just over 6 tenths up on his time. It's an incredible lap so far from Sonny. As we see him coming around the stadium section, coming up to the final 2 corners of the lap now. As we see the corner where Bottas famously binned it, and he comes across the line, sticks it P2, still 4 tenths off Gaben. So what I can take from that is Gaben's sector 3 must have been sensational.
Yeah, like if Sector 2 is that close, or indeed is better for Sonny, then Gaben has to have everything in the tank for the other 2 sectors. The fact that Sonny has dared to approach to the hallowed ground of our Lord and Saviour Gaben and set foot upon the hallowed turf of the same second as Gaben really shows how fast that lap was. Aston Martin loving it right now. They are in the lead in the Constructors' Championship. That is undercooking it slightly. They have something like an 85-point lead on the nearest competition, which is the effective one-driver team of Haas in P2. So Aston Martin won't be too worried about defending their Constructors' title right now. They'll be doing just fine. They're mostly concerned with individual glory, pole position, and progression to the race safely. 1 minute left in regulation time for Q3, our final qualifying session. When the clock strikes 0, you've got to be on your final timed lap. Otherwise, you're going to be at the end of the session, and your time will be counted. Gaben holding provisional pole right now. It looks like our drivers are going around our final laps. Mancho is on his outlap right now. Might just make it to the line in time. We'll bring you more on that as it happens. Otherwise, we'll be looking at each driver as they cross the line. Gaben 6 tenths ahead of his already brilliant time. He's going to be coming into the stadium section now. Nice little jump to the left and then a step to the right. Puts his foot on the accelerator and bends his knees in tight. It's the accelerating thrust that really drives you insane. Is he going to set a pole position time again? 123.4. He's 1.2 seconds clear of everyone. It's not even funny. It's actually hilarious. He's just decimated Sonny and Zydox, who together have like 9 billion championship points.
I'm speechless. I'm gonna come out and say it was probably the best qualifying lap that VL's probably ever seen. To be that far ahead of your nearest competition, and it's not like the nearest competition is bad. The nearest competition are P1 and P2 in the Drivers' Championship, and you're making them look like 50 AI bots. That's incredible.
Yeah, together they would make a 100 AI bot, but that's not enough for Gaben right now. I think this is the only thing that could make Zydox pick up the phone, dial the Mexico area code, and try and get Flyer on the blower to come back. Like, it's the only thing that's currently threatened him. Gaben and Sonny are decimating the field, but I don't really want to include Sonny on this. Sonny is doing very well, his usual great standard. It is Gaben that is redefining the standards right now. He is 1.2 seconds clear of his teammate, 1.2 seconds clear of Zydox, who is the fighting with Sonny for the championship, and he is almost 2 seconds clear of Mancho. Earlier I talked about the difference in the field for qualifying times being about 2 seconds. That's for the entire field. That's P1 down to P15 or P20. We're now seeing it from P1 down to P4. That's how much ahead Gaben is. Monty, of course, DQ'd earlier. Benjamin Danklin had a few incidents around Sector 2 and wasn't able to improve on his time. Shadow and Dorman going to finish towards the lower areas. Mancho, something Miffy, always in the hunt for midfield. Q3 did pretty good in terms of times. Sonny and Zydox very close, and normally that would be for 1 and 2. Gaben, man, he's just cracked. He's built different, constructed alternatively with different methods of production, and he's going to keep his time at the moment. He's hopping into the pits now. That will be the last classified time of the session. Gaben has absolutely wrecked kids out here. His chassis is green, but he is smurfing like he is blue.
Yeah, I mean, that I don't think we're gonna see a difference like that. 1.1 seconds in qualifying. I was expecting something spicy to happen in the wet weather. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, but overall, the rest of the field quite close together. not too far apart from each other, so hopefully it should be an interesting race. We see a lot of invalidated lap times as we see. Mexico can catch out a lot of people, and I reckon we're going to get a lot of penalties come the race.
Yeah, like it is a doot track. It is a track where there are frequent invalidations, lots of 3-second corner cutting penalties. Yeah, it's so easy for that to happen. In the Season 5 edition of the race, in dry weather, for at least most of the race, 12 of 15 drivers picked up some form of track extension or corner cutting penalty. So it shows that even in dry conditions, it's so easy to get these infringements. This carries doubly so for wet weather conditions. It's easy to lose traction. Just look at the examples we've seen on screen with Monty, with Envy, with Wilder, with Franklin. Even our top drivers, we've seen a couple of wiggles from Mancho. We saw Miffy run over a dog somewhere. I just made that up. I thought I'd put that one in for drama. But yeah, a lot of spins. It just means that we'll be seeing a lot more in terms of invalidation. Especially if there is a safety car towards the end of the race, which, based on the last 8 races having full safety cars in, I'm willing to bet happens. Those penalties are going to count for lots. Even if Gaben builds up a giant lead that's half the circuit and gets way ahead of his competition, a safety car can neutralize that with 5-6 laps to go, and then penalties will count for much more than the lead that was built up, which will be neutralized. So yeah, safety cars and wet weather, the two big equalizers, we might see both.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible to get a safety car at Mexico, especially during that Sector 3. It is very narrow, very possible to hit a wall, and we already see a few drivers totaling their cars out on track. As long as they're close enough to the track, that safety car probably will be brought out. And as you say, it's the great equalizer, especially a wet safety car restart. Anything can happen.
Oh man, yeah, it's going to be great to see it. Like, I never wish for people to crash, or rather, let me rephrase that. I never wish for specific people to crash. I'd like there to be crashes. I want to see the Brazil Demolition Derby. I want to see that one where Tessie had to go up a hill in Spa, Eau Rouge, Radion, actually, where he was at like 200 miles an hour and then had to dodge people by like 2 millimeters, and there was just a giant crash. It's something you don't want to see in real life because of actual humans being involved, but on a VLF1 Sunday, I'd just love to see it. I'd love to see giant pile-ups, and I think it would be great if even the race leaders were involved in it. So that's my cast of bias out the way. I'm trying to have a look at the people in the voice calls in VLF1, see if I can get any advance shouts on who's going to be in the race. We saw 15 in qualifying. We skipped Q1 and got 15 into Q2. 3 drivers, that is both Williams drivers, Impress, Carlos, and also Flyer for Haas weren't locked, so they couldn't make it anyway. On top of that one, Maka is joining the race for McLaren, so Pyro will have 2 drivers represented in the race as opposed to 1 in qualifying. What else have we got? We had Naor not able to make it into the Alfa Romeo roster for the qualifying session. It's unlikely he will be able to make it for the race, so we'll probably have 16 drivers here. How would you feel if you were in Maka's shoes, Alex? Like, just coming into wet Mexico, no practice, just sitting down at your PC, and then hearing that there's all sorts of retirements and collisions.
Yeah, it'd just be that meme of guy walking in with pizza and the entire room is on fire. I think that's the situation he's going to be walking into right now. Lots of screaming going on, and yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to jinx it, but I reckon it's going to be an interesting start to the race.
Yeah, like normally, I think because Mexico has a long run down to the first corner, it's a giant straight. There isn't even like a little kink in the straight like you'd see in the Russian track. It's just all the way down to turn 1. It's a giant lead out, so drivers have, in the dry conditions, enough of a chance to build up slipstream. And a few people have said to me it's better to start in P2 on the grid than P1 in Mexico, because you can use that slipstream, get behind the first driver, get behind the lead pole driver, and then use that slipstream to get into an attacking position by the time turn 1 comes around. I'm not sure if that will hold true as much in the wet conditions, so I think for Gaben to qualify on pole, I'm pretty sure, because you have to be a bit more rigid with what racing line you take. There's a longer braking zone, and slipstream isn't going to be as important. Gaben will be able to hold his lead, in my opinion. And if he can hold his lead and drive like he did in qualifying, that's his best route to a win. Just no frills, no overtakes, no safety cars, no weird pit strategies. Just wait for Jeff or do a one-stop, and then, just take it home. It would be foolish of me to say that it's a certain win. Anything can happen in VLF1. Shadow Hopper certainly thought he was doing well until he caught a blaze out of right field in the middle of Sao Paulo. But yeah, you've got all sorts of things that can happen. Gaben was sort of an outsider. We saw he was doing well on the dry time trial sweatboard before the race. He has quickly become the hot favourite. It will take a lot of brilliant performance improvement, or Maka being an actual meteoric prodigy, to displace Gaben from the top of this board. He's absolutely on fire in qualifying.
Yeah, I was sending a quick message to Gaben after that qualifying session. Apparently he's done 5 hours of time trial and 2 50% races just to prove the bad luck he's had in terms of getting his first win is just that, it's bad luck. So yeah, he is really feeling this win today, and I wouldn't want to be the man standing in the way, stopping him getting that win. So I won't talk too much about him, only because I have a habit of caster cursing people, and that's the last thing I want for him during this race. He deserves the win, in my opinion.
You're on 2 already, Alex. I mean, how many more can you get in today? We're already on like a hat trick. Like, it's 5 hours of time trial it's not rookie numbers. That's a lot of time trial. The most I think I've ever sweated for a VLF1 race back when I was actually competing was when we did Canada in, I think it was season 3. I thought to myself, right, I'm just going to get myself used to the long form of doing a track. Instead of trying to perfect corners, I'm going to get used to doing one lap after another, and I'm just going to sit down and do 100 laps of a circuit. And I did it with Canada. 100 laps of Canada is probably just shy of 2 hours. So I was improving corner on corner, lap on lap, seeing what I could do. That was the most exhausting marathon I've ever done in practice, and Gaben has done more than double that for this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know whether that will have been continuous time trial. I doubt it. I think that's going to be overall, but still, overall, just for one track, it's a hell of a lot of effort. Just update from Gaben in chat. It was 5 hours over 2 weeks. So yeah, it's still a hell of a lot of time to put in, and I don't want to stand in his way.
Yeah, 2 50% races as well. Okay, so enough about Gaben, because he's an actual beast at the moment. There are some other drivers on the grid, apparently. So let's see where they stack up. And let's go through it. I'll take the first for Alex, you take the second. We'll alternate. Well, let's go for this. Okay, Trav, what we got? Yep, it's a box. Okay, there we go. So Aston Martin have the front row lockdown. Gaben with a meteoric session. Sonny would normally have a brilliant time on his hands. He is a lowly second compared to his teammate.
Following up with that, we have Zydox in P3, and representing the highest placed Red Bull member, we have Mancho in P4.
Yep, just behind them, Miffy, haven't talked about him much. He's put in a really respectable Q3 performance in 5th. Whopper is next to him with a time in the high 125s in Q3.
In P7, we have the previous race winner, Dormin, looking to improve that time from qualifying. And Somther in P8, he's possibly going to be a bit disappointed and also look to improve.
Making up the back of the front half of a regular 20-man grid, Franklin, who finished classified in Q3 despite having 3 tyres, and Monty, who finished retired in Q3 after having 3 tyres. 6 tyres between 2 drivers.
On the 6th row of the grid, it's an all Ferrari project affair with Glenn in P11 and Envy in P12.
Bobby Bodgson in P13, repping the lowest position of a Red Bull driver on the grid, and then Wilder is going to be holding it down for McLaren in P14.
And then rounding out the back of the grid, we have Brandon, last of the classified drivers. Obviously, the latecomers we talked about before will slot in behind him.
Yeah, that could be a really good one. Like, the only latecomer I know of is Maka. I still don't know about Rowan Nawar, whether he could join the race. But that would be a nice dynamic to have Maka just behind Wilder. Pyro would have the underdog bet, as his boys would try to fight from the back to the front. That could be cool.
Yeah, it's especially in the wet, it's definitely a difficult track to do a last to first on, but we've seen stranger things happen, so I won't count my chickens just yet.
Yeah, boy. But I'm sure we were like, I was totally rooting for a Somther win. That's kind of disappeared a bit now after whatever just happened in Q2 and 3 from the guy in green. Somther and Miffy have been doing really well though. Between them and Mancho in that Red Bull seat, they've scored pretty respectably in Q3 with times that would normally be challenging for pole, but obviously not this time. 125.2, 125.4, 125.4. They've got pace and hopefully consistency will bring it to them. Somther, Miffy, and Mancho are very consistent drivers. I'd like to see how they get on when it comes to just doing lap after lap in these treacherous conditions. One of the things that happens with wet weather is it's easier to do one lap because you can focus on getting each corner and each bit of traction exactly right. When you start getting degradation and when your focus starts slipping, it's much easier to absolutely spin Arla. So for Mancho, who got a podium, third place in the GP of the Americas in 100%, that's going to be a really good sign for him. We know he's got the focus to do long form. Miffy is one of the more consistent point scorers on the grid, and Somther has already got 7 podiums this season. So if anything happens to our top 3, who I'm now confident will be our podium, they will be ready to replace them. They've got good pace, they won't be too far back, and they'll be able to navigate the course pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're a bolder man than I to call the podium as locked just yet. I think, given the track and the weather, I'm going to hold off from calling it locked, especially going into that turn 1. All it takes is one person to miss the braking zone and oops, there goes your race.
Yeah, well said. For the contrasting opinion, I personally think that everyone will make it fine past turn 1 and there will be no incidents whatsoever with no tyres or wings or pride or mental being lost. Wink, wink, thumbs up, move on, no curse, jinx. Anyway, we've got a lot of potential that could happen, not just in turn 1, but coming around the track. One thing I'm going to touch on as well, we've got some family support in Twitch chat, so please keep that one up. We've got Electro Droid repping that's Gaben's dad representing. He must be a very proud father at the moment after seeing the barnstorming performance from his son, coming home like more than a second clear in Q3. We also have our regular viewer Copycat's family. That's Somther's fam representing as well. Good evening back to you. I saw that post from earlier. So yeah, VLF1's becoming an increasingly family show. Shame about Pyro's language earlier, but we'll try and bring things back and make no innuendos or awkward references. I'm just kidding. We know you love them. We'll keep them up the whole time.
Yeah, it's something I'm still having to get used to is watching the extent of my language. So I'll try not to slip up today, but no promises, especially if we have another race that's separated by less than 1/10 of a second, as we've had in the previous 2 for whatever reason.
Yeah, in the rating system in America, a PG-13 film gets you 1 incidence of the F word, which is one of the most egregious examples of swearing. So the phrase that happens is you get 1. In the case of VLF1 is you get 1 hour of swearing for every commentator. So between the 3 of us, we have everything covered. Yeah, Z-Way's come in as well and says turn 1 takes 7 drivers, turn 2 takes another 7 drivers, then Hodge wins. It's not too far out of reality, to be honest. Like I can imagine that happening. Maybe the Hodge bit is going too far, but I can see a lot of collisions and a lot of retirements happening to our drivers. It's easy enough to retire when you're trying to do a lap on your own with no traffic. The thing that Alex just brought up about turn 1. Turn 1 is always difficult because a lot of the drivers will be contesting in a very short space. Even more so in the wet conditions, they'll be trying to get into the one racing line. One small miscalculation will lead to it being very difficult to correct onto the right line. So yeah, all of these things just lend themselves to a massive collision and lots of issues. As a driver, it must be really stressful and cause all sorts of panic and adrenaline rush. As a member of the commentary team, I bloody love it. So it's going to be fantastic. I look forward to it. Let's have a look and see what other drivers we can focus on here. Yeah, for Ferrari for me. So Envy has picked up points. He was an Alexander Armstrong pointless until Sao Paulo round 11. He's now on 2 points, sharing it with Blaze. Franklin got a lot of top 7 finishes earlier in the season. His last 2 performances have been a 10th and a retirement. Glenn is sort of hovering around the bottom of the point zone. He scored 5th in Bahrain and 7th in Japan, but has finished 11th and 12th recently. Question to you, Alex, is how do you see Ferrari performing as the 3-man project today? Do you think it's a shout for any of them to get points?
I think they are probably the most consistent of the projects in terms of they always seem to be the team that hang around to pick up points when people crash out, but they never seem to be the team that are pushing themselves into that top position. So I think, given the scenario that we're in, I think at least one of the Ferraris will pick up points when other drivers bin it.
Yeah, it's one where I think the Ferraris have the consistency in terms of performance, but obviously in World Drivers' Championship. Then you've got Mercedes. Anyway, we're looking at the formation lap. Drivers are just, I say, warming up their tyres. They're just testing out their tyres. If I could get a check from production, can I ask you to confirm that everyone's on intermediate tyres for me, please? Jeff Bezos certainly agrees with me. He's projecting a 1-stop or 2-stop. The intermediates have a comparable distance to the medium tyres. It's going to be possible to finish on a 1-stop, and I don't see any driver planning on a 2-stop, not least when the rain could die off or become heavier later on. Cheers production, we do have all of our drivers on the green tyres on the intermediates, suited for light rain conditions. We saw them exclusively in Q3. So with all other things being equal, we'll be seeing Gaben do pretty well here.
As we see the drivers making sure the tyres are nice and warm. Very hard to do during this, as we see Envy and I believe Wilder must have had issues on the hot lap. Obviously can't pick up any damage, but not going to be great for the tyre conditions going onto that start grid. As we see Gaben rounding the final corner now. Once he gets to his grid, he's just going to wait for Wilder at the back to catch up to the rest of the grid.
Yeah, everyone going to be reforming, getting into their positions on the grid. It's worth saying Somther qualified in 5th, but has a 3-place grid penalty. And that's because of the super license system we've got in VLF1. That penalty will be erased from the record after today. So he's getting that one out of the way and goes to presumably a fresh slate for the next race. Drivers are forming up, so I'm going to be calling this one as it starts. We do see Gaben and Sonny on the front row, Zydox just behind them, Mancho and Miffy in position ready to pounce in case there are any issues. We are going to potentially see if there are any problems with Slipstream, or if we get some sort of clean getaway for Gaben, who just is threatening with great pace at the moment. We've got our last driver getting into position there. It looks like the orange McLaren of Wilder in P14, just bing chilling back. This is round 13. This is the halfway point of Season 6. Our drivers are preparing. It's now time to put your money where your mouth is. First wet race of the season, lights are out, and away we go. Ferrari of Franklin breaks from formation already. We're seeing Gaben leading on the left-hand side. A couple of wiggles from Zydox in P4. Sonny slotting in just behind Gaben. Will the Slipstream pay any sort of price here? We see the 2 Aston Martins almost alongside each other. Mancho slotting in just behind them here, overtaking Zydox already. We've got drivers 2 wide coming into that first slalom, into Sector 1. We've got Mancho getting into a really nice position there, just between Sonny and Zydox, our 2 World Drivers' Championship contenders. Most of our drivers have got through pretty unscathed, but there is a yellow flag, and that is Envy caught out the back. He's going to be left behind by the procession, and a VSC has been called after 5 corners.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's for damage. Yep, looking at that MV, missing his entirety of front wing. So, yeah, he must have got caught up in an incident. I don't know whether he just met the wall or whether someone forced him onto it. So he's going. Pardon me. As we see, I believe that was Brandon who's also lost it under the VSC. Doesn't look like he's picked up any damage. Both end plates seem intact. So both drivers not having the best start to their race, and Envy is going to have to pit after just one lap.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Blaze was going the wrong way as well. Like he'd done a bit of a skid, tried to reassert himself on track, and then ended up going the wrong way. I know from speaking with Blaze and our long, detailed history together, this is not one of his favourite tracks. So to put it in wet weather is how you use in the gaming sense, not it, folks. Blaze is at the back with Envy now. Dormin just following in a procession. We have gone green. We are back to racing conditions. Gaben leading from the front still, and he's going to be able to take a lap at full speed now. 1:43 of this lap. Fastest lap for Gaben. He's setting the pubs already. Oh my god, it's massive. Sunny is, I was about to say in DRS, but there is no DRS here. We're in rain conditions. Sunny is going to be following closely behind Gaben. Aston Martin will love it if the two of them can just coast around doing nothing. Zydox is the biggest threat opposition to them. He's the biggest danger. And let's have a look. We see Hodge in the box. Don't know why. I think he was just waving to his boys. Yeah, anyway, half a lap ahead. Gaben and Sunny leading everything around. So yeah, if you're Sunny, you want Mancho behind you. You don't want Zydox behind you. We saw from qualifying that Zydox has comparable pace to Sunny. Sunny does not want to get involved in a battle behind him. The longer Mancho can hold off Zydox, the better for him. Sunny just wants to hang with his boy, just wants to ride on Gaben's coattails throughout the 36 laps of this race, and just absolutely being chill throughout it. Zydox, Somtha, and Whopper are within a chain. They're within a second each behind Mancho. So if there's a sharp braking from Mancho at any point in this area of the track, it's going to lead to a giant set of collisions. I would love to see it. Mancho is going to come into the stadium for lap 2, and most of the field are separating a bit now, as you would expect in the wet weather. But this sort of train towards the top end might generate some surprises. Gaben is already 1.6 seconds clear. This is not fun.
Yeah, he's really setting in the laps. We see Zydox looking for a move up the inside of Mancho. Pulls out to the inside. He's edging ever closer. No DRS, as Cradon previously mentioned, in these wet conditions, and dives back behind Mancho, apologies, and thinks better of it and follows him through. Maybe looking for a move going into the sector 2. Last straight before the corners here. Is he going to move out from behind? He is. He's looking up the inside. Is he going to send it? Yes, he is. Is the move going to stick? Mancho tries to stick around the outside, gets the inside in the next corner, and forces Zydox out wide. Brilliant defended by Mancho as Zydox tries to go around the outside. Is he going to make the move stick? He's ahead, and he has made the move stick going into the S's.
Jesus Monte Cristo, that was powerful. Mancho having to defend for a good 7 corners. Zydox was being a bit of a female cat, as our production alluded to in the first few corners, but did manage to come back and mount a strong attack. Zydox now clearly ahead. Something in that frustrating position of seeing the battle ahead of him and not being able to pounce himself. The train does continue there. So we've got El Tren of Zydox, Mancho, Somtha, Whopper in lap 3. Gaben is 2.5 seconds clear. This is beautiful. He's just absolutely memeing on everyone. Status report on the board. It's still alive. It's still in good health. It is an endangered species, according to the Wildlife Preservation Fund, or whatever it's called, WWF. Definitely not the wrestling one. It will be going in the next few laps. It will become extinct, especially if we see a Merc anywhere near. Somtha is mounting an attack on Mancho here. The slipstream is good. No DRS, obviously. Getting in position to the right, but no, he is going to drop back to a safer position, get correct for the braking zone, and then navigate around Sector 1. Water is wet. News at 11. Gaben is stonking on everyone. But yeah, we also see Glenn drop back to the back of the pack. He also had to pit.
Yeah, it's interesting shake-up of the grid, but it's nice to see that we have a bit of a battle developing between the sort of P4 down to P7. Monty sort of dropping off from that pack a bit, but yeah, overall really great to see close racing. Hopefully we see some overtakes, but the wet weather is going to make it increasingly more difficult at a track like Mexico.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're not used to seeing because of the wet weather is the strategy calls that can happen. It's easy for the wet weather to then switch over. The wet weather can either sort of recede and it can go dry, and there might be a crossover point onto the slick tyres, Or conversely, we might see the rain get heavier. We might be seeing more of an impact to traction where our drivers have to switch over to the wet tyres. So any good driver, when it gets to one of the two big straights on the track, will be pressing their weather report button, getting their in-game race engineer Jeff to tell them whether there's a crossover point, whether there's a change of weather incoming, and that might dictate pit strategies. We have a yellow flag and a safety car. There it is. Who had money on lap 5? Wilder it looks like he is still alive, but yeah, that wing is not long for life. And he's got the slenderest of noses there, and he's going to be high-fiving Pyro back in the McLaren garage. Hodgson has a drive-through penalty. The Delta has been fallen for. He's a clown, and the circus of the pit lane will be awaiting him when the safety car is gone. You can't go in there now, mate. You have to wait till the safety car's gone. That's not the tech, my friend. Alex, a question to you on the safety car. Do you think we will see any changes of tyre from the intermediate compound at this point?
If that intermediate was touch and go, whether it could last the full race, then yes, you'll change now. But if it was sort of looking at the tyres and they're not really going to make it, then no, we're not going to see any changes. Given the AWS pit stop strategy is a 2-stop, I would suggest we're not going to see many changes, but I've been proven wrong before, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we've always got Hodge to come in on lap 3 of a safety car and make a pit stop. Although, given his drive-through penalty, he might be coming in lap 5 of a 3-lap safety car. So, yeah, there's new ground being broken for Hodge every day. Yeah, most drivers will be staying on the intermediates. It is obviously a tyre that can last for large amounts of the race, so binning it after 4 laps is not great. Another thing to consider for our drivers will be that there are only 3 sets of intermediates, and they'll have mostly got through one of them in qualifying already. So with only 2 remaining sets of intermediates, you don't want to switch initially and then run the remaining compound for the best part of 32, 33 laps. So yeah, most drivers will be staying out. No pits, everyone just being chilling. The downside for Gaben is his massive lead already. He was something like 4 seconds clear of Sunny. He was something like 8 seconds clear of Zydox. That doesn't matter anymore. And even then, the guy who caused it, Wilder's spin, I don't know whether Wilder crashed or whether another driver spun and it led to a knock-on effect and that called out the safety car. We'll leave that to the stewards. The fact that Wilder is still on track means that we've got the same number of drivers, so it could very well happen again. Gaben might have a situation where he is constantly bringing out leads and driving away because he is a smurf and he is very fast, only for the safety cars to keep coming out and keep pegging him back. And then all it would take is an infraction of a 3-second corner cut to see him fall to net P2 even when a safety car has him at the front of the field. It's going to be, yeah, very testing for Gaben's mental if that happens. We actually go live to Pyro right now, who has information on Hodgson's penalty.
Yeah, hello. So I'll quickly talk to Hodgson what happened there, because he got the drive-through penalty pretty quick actually when the safety car got called out, and he told me that the Delta was not as he predicted, because he was slowing down all the time and the Delta was still gaining, and he didn't know what to do other than still slow down more, but the Delta was still rising, and at the end he still got the penalty without him even doing anything. And he not to quote, because I cannot do that on stream, but he's not pretty happy currently with the situation that he got a penalty.
Oh man, it reminds me of the trio in Disney's George of the Jungle, where they're in like jungle gear and they're carrying like tribal drums, and they say this is the part where we throw our heads back in laughter, and that's just the 3 of us on the caster desk. Like this is not Hodgson's first rodeo here. This is not his first race. As my good friend Charmander posts in chat, TIL Hodgson doesn't know what a brake pedal is. He's done this before. Like he's got no excuses here. He's just been a clown, and he'll have to try and recover next time. He must take the L of the DT and GTFO. He is, yeah. The honk is the operative word from our production, as Hodge has to do some real work to get points. As much as I've ragged on Hodgson here, I now have to compliment him. Hodge is the only driver to, after 12 races, have scored points 12 times. every single last other driver in VLF1 has had either a race where they couldn't make it, or a race where they retired, or a race where they classified outside points. That has not happened for Hodgson. He sits 4th in the World Drivers' Championship. He got that win in Styria. He's been on the podium 3 times. His worst finish was P9 in the last 100% race in the Grand Prix of the Americas round 12. He has picked up 12 sets of points. So Hodgson, as much as we're memeing on him, and as much as he doesn't know what a brake pedal is, or is able to count numbers, or is incapable of even the most basic calculation or processing with the brain of his, has points in every race. So he is, on some level, an example that the rest of the grid have to look up to.
But as you mentioned, it could be a case of that Australian speed skater who, in several times in a row, every single person collapsed in front of him, and he just skates to the victory. So, given he is Hodgson trying to serve the drive? What? What?
Give us a 1, give us a 2, give us a 3. Yeah, lap 3 of a safety car, boys. Hodgson's in the box. We called it. Ding, 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 ding.
Nah, I'm done. No, I'm done.
Like,
I can't be having this.
I'm sat here commentating and in a production booth with the 2 finest Red Bull drivers there have ever been. This is the current state of your project, boys. This is the guy representing you. He is actually the highest Red Bull driver in the World Drivers' Championship. You're looking up to this man. He is your idol. He is your golden statue. He is your Beethoven's 5th. And he just came in on lap 3 of a safety car trying to change his tyres to serve a drive-through penalty. Oh, stick to League of Legends.
I don't know. He wasn't particularly good at League of Legends. He said, "Oh my God, Gaben's lost it."
Wait, what?
Gaben lost it.
How did we miss that? After no, I know how we missed that. It was Hodgson. But how did we miss that?
What safety car in this lap? What has gone on?
Is there anything from the race director? I don't think his tyres look punctured. The front right one looks a bit dubsteppy, but I think that's just from the inclement weather. He's got a wing. Monty's booted Murphy. Oh, the whole field is forced to an absolute standstill here. Sunny's safety car restart pace is -3 miles an hour. This is right. So to update everyone, Hodge is trash, doesn't know how to count, and has got a drive-through penalty. I don't know what's happened to Gaben. I can only assume teleportation, voodoo, or black magic at this point. But he's in P16. It's got to be some sort of slip. Even the mortals can happen. We'll look at the safety car restart and then see if we've got any Kravitz info. But yeah, Sunny is leading out Zydox. Somtha is coming in as well. Mancho is coming in as well. Somtha's closing speed on the top 2 is pretty excellent here. Whopper is going to have a nice run on Mancho, and it's actually going to be able to get the lead. Let's see if he maintains it going into turn 1 here. Sunny leading out Zydox. There's a nice few swerves from left to right. I believe that's from Monty in P6 at the moment. Mancho is now settling back into line. Sunny leads by the best part of a second from Zydox. Green flag. Somtha is 1.6 back. And there's a train of Somtha, Mancho, Monty now overtaking Whopper, the 2 Alpine drivers sharing P5. And a few exchanges of position. While we've got a little break in the action, I'm going to cut down to Ted Kravitz being played by our Italian Sandro with info from Hodgson and from Gaben.
Yeah, 1 second, I was listening to Hodgson's big brain strategy, and this next second, I just see Gaben dropping in order. So, first things first, Gaben apparently said that his back end just stepped out, and he doesn't really know what happened to him, just being a little bit too happy on the loud pedal, which caused him to not only lose the end plate, but being quite frustrated as well. But he can make it up the order again. He's just he didn't say much. He just said he doesn't know really what happened. A little bit too much loud pedal too early on, and the back end stepped out. But yeah, while this happened, Hodgson actually told me that his big brain strategy, why he pitted under the safety car in lap 2 as well, is that he wants to pit for fresh intermediates, so when everybody else pits, he can make up the position and the time lost he has to serve the penalty for.
Okay, 27 laps of intermediates on one compound. Got it, Hodge. Oh man, that's I like Pyro that you had to put on a straight face through all of that. Despite that, thank you for your great reporting. Multiple issues now come into light. Gaben losing his back end, even gods can fail. I was looking towards extraneous explanations for how it happened because Gaben was just smurfing. Zydox with a purple sector 1 here. Him and Sunny are leading the race at the moment. Good 3-second gap to Somther. So Sunny and Zydox pulling out a microcosm of the World Drivers' Championship here. Yeah, Gaben is currently in last place, P16. It's not too much of a worry based on his previous form. It's worth. I'll ask Alex. I don't know if did Gaben pit during that or did he just get back onto the track? Because
so
an end plate.
yeah, it looks like Gaben pitted for first time. Interesting to note, Miffy also pitted, so obviously picking up that damage from that contact with Monty. So not too sure what happened there, but yeah, both Miffy and Gaben pitted after the safety car came in, which is why they're so far behind the order and even behind Hodgson, who's already now served his drive-through.
Well said, Alex. Thank you. So the back of the grid will be on that second set of intermediates. They do have a third worn set from qualifying to call upon. But yeah, they will be able to get an initial speed advantage if there is indeed a measurable speed advantage from a fresh set of tyres right now. The big advantage, of course, is being Gaben because his pace has been pretty smurf so far. He's got it all to do. I've recently seen Trav's edit of Hodge winning the Styrian Grand Prix. If you haven't seen it, please ask in VLF1. It's beautiful. I think everything is set with Gaben's fastest lap underlining my point now for a similar anime comeback from Gaben. We'll ask Gaben to select his comeback music for 16th to 1st. But however you swing it, this makes the race more exciting for a potential Gaben comeback. In a way, it makes it less exciting at the front because Sunny and Zydox are just so far clear of everyone else in terms of pace. Yeah, Zydox will follow Sunny around here. They are closely matched. They are within half a second.
Yeah, it's interesting that Zydox now keeping up with Sunny. Sunny did drop him at the start of the race, but Zydox keeping him a lot more honest after that safety car restart. Not too sure whether he's going to make any moves, but as we see Gaben catching up to the back of Miffy, he's going to want to dispatch him quite quickly and be on his way. But realistically, for Gaben to be in a shout of a win, I think he's going to need another safety car later in this race. The sooner the better for him, really.
Definitely doable. Oh, Gaben is going to try and make a move here. End of the SS, he's going to be straight into that apex, and he has made the move there. Let's see if he stays ahead through the stadium section. Yep, looks like a done deal there. Bollard still surviving. High five to the Bollard. That second one there is gone. It is long gone. I'm guessing Shadow Hopper used his Rainbow Road trademark shortcut, but either way, the Bollard lasted 10 laps. RIP 2023 to 2023. We've got Gaben now having made that one place. Only 14 to go, my friend. Sunny and Zydox 0.4 apart. Zydox still trailing Sunny. We've got long ways to go yet, Hobbit says. We've got 24 laps remaining in this 50% around Mexico City. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Zydox is perfectly happy to bide his time, wait for a slipstream later in the race, just get news from anyone else in the field to tell them whether Gaben's actually taking on the field. But yeah, Zydox is just going to be chilling right now, focusing on staying alive, and if he can do that, he'll be in with a good shout at a win towards the end.
Yeah, I think the grid might settle down a bit now till that pit window comes about. Monty probably going to serve his 5 second in the pit. I don't think he's going to try and do another zero stopper. I don't think it's really ever possible on the intermediates. I think intermediates are a bit too fragile. But I've seen stranger things, so we'll have to see what he tries to do. Most of the field settling about a 1 second gap from each other. They don't want to be too close where you can't see because of the rain, but they also want to sort of keep them within touching distance. The only one close is Dormin, about 2/10 out in P10, looking to close in on Blaze.
Yeah, well said. Blaze in a points position right now, which is great, and he's immediately dropped down a place as soon as I mention his name, so what an interesting curse I have to myself there. Blaze is now right in front of Glenn, so the narratives write themselves at this point. We'll see if we can get those two lovebirds having a little smooch as we go around the circuit. Yeah, as you said, Alex, the grid is separating the gaps between each driver. The deltas are increasing. There are only 2 deltas at the moment. That's Sunny to Zydox and Hodgson to Gaben, where it's less than a second right now. Based on Gaben's pace and Hodgson's lack of a brain today, then Gaben will probably be able to take this very easily. I think the S is a bad place to overtake, but Gaben has a nice blueprint for the overtake afterwards. Hodge with an interesting exit. Not as much dirty air here, but you've got those racing line incidents to look at. There is a dry racing line even in the wet conditions, because that's where lots of drivers will go. It's important for both drivers to stay on it, which makes any overtaking move very difficult. Apart from if you're Gaben, he's taking exactly the same route, but he's going around the outside instead of the inside. But it's the same corner as he did for Miffy, and going into the stadium section, he's ahead. Next target is Envy, 7.5 seconds away, or to put it into Gaben terms, 4 laps.
Yeah, it's the pace he's closing down the rest of the grid is quite astonishing. As it currently stands, does he really even need a safety car? Who knows? But as we see, I believe that's Franklin coming into the pits there, getting on a fresh set of tyres. I'm assuming this is roughly the right amount of time. So we might start to see the rest of the grid looking to filter into the pit soon.
Yeah, coming up to the halfway point in the race, 18 laps out of 36 is strictly halfway, but a few drivers may go for the earlier pit. One thing that could influence the decisions is rumours of heavier rain or indeed no rain later on. So if they make the stop slightly before halfway, it's a gamble where they can go a bit faster as we get towards the end of the session. I've just brought up the forecast from earlier. The first 15 minutes of the race seem to be falling in rain precipitation chance from 90 down to 80%, which means that the trend is in terms of rain reduction. So if that continues among the 45 minutes of the race distance, then we might well be seeing the rain receding during the last 10 minutes. What an amazing strategy battle that would be. Drivers looking for the crossover point between inters and softs, trying not to overheat on the inters, trying not to spin all on the softs. Meanwhile, Glenn and Blaze are fighting on the last corner. This is glorious. Glenn has the inside line right now. They haven't yet come out of the corner, which made me think they've both crashed, but they are on almost a photo finish as they go around the home straight. I don't even care about the rest of the race right now. This is a one-on-one as far as I'm concerned till these two separate. There's a purple number up the top of the screen. Don't give one. Glenn versus Blaze. This is real racing hours. Blaze leads Glenn into turn 1 and will lead into this little chicane here. Couple turns to the left and then getting that exit to the right, which is all important. The slipstream and indeed that dry section of the track is a good place for Glenn to be in. But that kick up of water from the back of Blaze's Mercedes is going to impair Glenn's vision slightly, as is the giant nose that is on the front of Glenn's face. So Blaze is going to be going around the middle of the track right now, where it's the mini stadium section. Couple of right turns here. Coming into the S's, only a man like Gaben would dare for the overtake, but this should be processional. Blaze typically struggles with this section of the track, so we'll see if he goes for any wise moves or if he just stays pretty central, pretty safe, and it looks like it's gone pretty smoothly for both drivers here. Within a second, so along with Sunny and Zydox, the only drivers that are within quote-unquote DRS, in a few moments we'll take you to Gaben, who might be planning a move on Envy. And here we go, chasing him down now. It's going to be into the stadium section. Hasn't made his usual overtake move, but he's ahead of Hodgson. Bollard still lives. We sing its praises. Reports of its demise were greatly exaggerated. And Gaben is going to be following Envy here. It was a 7.5 second gap last lap. It's gone. He just made it up.
Yep.
Did he just close 8 seconds in one lap?
Yep, that's about right.
Just gave him
There's not much really to say. Is he gonna look to send it? No, he's gonna wait for Envy to outbrake himself and then just drive down the inside. Nicely done. And Wilder's next up on the thing. I think Wilder might even be gone by the next corner. And Wilder moving multiple times up across the track, it looks like. But Gaben doesn't care. Sends it up the inside. Nicely done. Brandon's next on the chopping block. As we see, Glenn also got Brandon while Gaben was out murdering people. So yeah. Yeah, he's cutting his way through the field. He's already 1.2 seconds off points. As we see a yellow flag in sector 2. It's Monty, it looks like. No front wing. Are we going to get any safety car shenanigans?
Oh, this could be big. And he's off the racing line now, just skidded over to the right. Now, yeah, that is free position gang rise up for most of the field. No extra penalties for Monty, no safety car. Now, Brandon is a very dangerous opponent. He's been able to hold off drivers in lots of considerable racing, and he's gone. So Blaze is going to go to the wayside. And yeah, Gavin is going to be getting another position. He's already in P9. Blaze, I don't think has any wing damage, but just the emotional damage. As a result, insert the meme here. Gavin is going to be facing up Glenn here. Now, Glenn is definitely a formidable opponent. He's the captain of Ferrari, has massive experience, and he's gone already. Glenn is just going to be on the inside right now. Look for the breaking points, look for the hard battling, and yeah, it's CY out sign. Yeah, arrivederci. Wait, that isn't Spanish. Hasta la vista, baby. There we go. Hasta la vista isn't goodbye, it means until the next time, which is presumably until the next time Gaben messes up his back end and then goes to the back of the field and has to do a loss to the first challenge. Gaben is now 7.5 seconds behind Dormin in P7, or to put it in Gaben terms, four turns.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly he makes up that gap, as he's literally just made up 2/10 within 2 corners. So, yeah, he's really starting to hunt down this grid. Already under 7 seconds. We see Maka DNF. Yeah, yellow flag in second 2. Wilder picking up the free here. There's a full safety car. Ooh,
Oh,
Maka
Maka's
just
on the
on the
middle of the
racing
track.
line. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, let's see how the grid handles it. They will be at slower speeds because of the safety car, so they will hopefully have time to look at Maka and...
Oh, Hodgson hit.
Hodgson hit Maka! Oh no! I was trying! Negative 3 in impact! He gets a 5-second penalty for hitting a dead car. I think Hodge would still try and argue it's Maka's fault. I am, of course, kidding. Wait, Franklin's off as well. He's retired! Did he? I think... Now, if I didn't know better, and I don't, so I'm going to make this up, I think Franklin went too far and didn't brake in time for the corner and hit into the wall. I'm going to wait for Stewards or Franklin or maybe even Ted Kravitz to confirm. Gaben is in 6th already. The safety car is going to equalize everyone right up. Okay, let's carefully watch for the deltas. Okay. Hodge is not going to get a drive-through, but he is going to wait for that 5-second penalty to go. The Red Bull guy is just waiting around for those extra 5 seconds. And there we go, a new wing for our boy Hodgson, getting those first set of intermediate tyres back on again. He's actually undone the damage from that first pit stop, so he's done a 2-stop, but put the same tyres back on again as he started with. That is beautiful mind-mongerage from Hodgson. And yeah, Hodge is now trailing the field. He is P14. 14 drivers remain. Top 10 get points, so very good chance of points for our drivers here. I'm trying to look at our drivers who maybe wouldn't normally get points that are now in points positions. Blaze and Wilder haven't got too many points recently, but if they can keep this up, they're doing well. Hodge is... Yeah, he scored points 12 times in the last 12 races. My number one question is how? Because he's just not made any decisions right today. He's pitted at the wrong time. He's made the wrong tire set. He's collided with dead cars. He's got pitted on lap 3 of the safety car. He's still going to get points, and that scares me as a man. I'm just going to hand straight over to Sandro Kravitz with spicy info on just about everything.
All right, we have spicy information on not only tire choices, which we see currently Dormin pitting on a medium tire, while they were talking on if it's maybe too early to pit for slicks, and they were debating. Not only that, we have I have very interesting infos. So Maka unfortunately just lost the car, spun into a wall. I sadly had to see it live. And then Hodgson apparently was doing something else, or not looking at the track. I don't know what he was really doing. And because he lost his front wing, there was debris on the track. Franklin ran over the debris, had 2 punctures in both of his tires, both front tires, couldn't make the next turn. He couldn't brake, he couldn't turn, and just went straight into a wall.
Oh my god. So a wall incident and a colliding with a dead car incident. That's fantastic. One follow-up question from me, Sandro. You mentioned that drivers were considering pitting for slicks. Did you get any info from the drivers in the race? Do you know maybe if there's going to be a certified weather change, or if it's just guessing from our drivers?
They're
what's gonna happen.
They're currently just guessing, based on what Jeff is telling them to, that the rain is gonna stop eventually soon. And as you can see, Domin already made the decision to pit on the mediums, but it's, I think, way too early. But I also think that he's just the information giver to the other people. If it's maybe really a little too early while I see him spin.
Yeah, I would say cast a curse, but the man put mediums on in a wet race. I mean, it's just going to happen. That was actually a perfect set of donuts into the stadium, as if he just won a championship. But yeah, let's watch Blaze here. Ooh, hey! Oh, he's moving to the right. Oh, is that dead bollard? I didn't see. It could still be alive. We'll bring you more updates on this critical situation as it happens. But yeah, Sandro Kravitz, thank you again. I'm sure we'll need you one more time. Yeah, Domin's corrected his mistake. He's put the ints back on. Although arguably he had already entered. Let's see if Blaze does the same. Nope, he's staying with the mediums for now. So one thing that's worth saying, even though the conditions might not be ripe for the slick tyres, under a safety car, you still have 2 to 3 more laps of trundling behind the safety car before you go to full racing. So often, drivers will make a gamble. They will switch to the slicks 2 or 3 laps early, such that when they return and emerge from the safety car 2 or 3 laps later, they will then have the right tyre. Even if they're sliding now, Blaze's gamble is that the weather will dry sufficiently for the slicks to be good enough in 2 to 3 laps' time. I still think it's a horrible gamble, but that's the sort of thought process he's leading with. Dormin had the same process, but Dormin has reversed that move. As our production points out, water is still falling, children playing, having fun. It's the season for love and spinolas. Merry Mexico, everyone. Blaze in P11, he's the only guy on the mediums, and this is just going to be a nice slideshow in more ways than one as we watch the next few laps. Oh, man.
In my semi-professional racing opinion, Rando's fucked it. That's all I can say, really. As Shadow comes in for the softs, it's currently still raining, and they're choosing the slick tyres.
This is beautiful. Okay, you know when I said Hodge was uniquely smooth-brained? He's not uniquely smooth-brained anymore. There's no unique about it. Horrible decisions being made up and down the grid. They're trying to do what me and Rock did on Racing Point in Brazil Season 4, and they realised that we were just built different. We could do it. We read the grid better. I'm prepared to eat my words if the weather suddenly changes in the next few laps. But this ain't it, Chief. Please, oh no. He's dropped back.
He's so slow, he can't catch up to the safety car grid. Like, in what world is this even a remotely good idea?
Who can say where the road goes?
Brandon can't, he's been off it about 10 times.
This is like perfect montage material, just watching him go around the track, just absolutely spray water everywhere. I can't see the water falling as much now, but there we go. We switched to another camera, and the raindrops are coming in like Brandon's tears after he realizes that this is all caught on camera. The safety car has got bored, to be honest. Burn Mylander has seen that not even the 7 Dragon Balls can put the whole grid together into a procession. So after 3 laps under safety car conditions, the safety car is going to come into the box. Sonny is going to go for another 2-mile-an-hour restart. He's backed up the entire grid into an area the size of a shoebox, and he's going to come around the final corner with the restart that Couchy perfectly described in Discord, but I can't repeat on stream. He's coming around, and he's going to... Oh my god! No, it's Gavin! Gavin has no way he survives, but he looks through the other side of the chain link fence.
He's going to get disqualified for going the wrong way.
Is this a DQ? There he is! He's DQ'd! He has absolutely messed it up! You know what, Alex? If you get one, I get one. He's fucked it. He's absolutely messed up his strategy. He missed the turning and went into the wall, and then tried to get back into the pits. He went the wrong way. His teammate Sonny did it in, I believe it was Austria. I don't even care at this point. He's done it before. Gavin should know better, and I love that he tried it. I think I would try it in the same situation. Just instead of going around the whole lap at like 2 miles an hour, Just try and skid around the chain link fence, meet up with your boys in the crib in the Aston Martin garage. But yeah, it's the only thing he's going to be meeting up with is the most spectacular fall from grace in terms of pre-race and qualifying expectations. He was smashing everyone by 1.1, 1.4 seconds per lap in qualifying and in the early stages of this race. He was recovering very well from early misfortune, fighting his way from P16 all the way up to P6, and with a safety car coming in, he had every chance of fighting to and past the front with his amazing pace. But alas, we're back to the Sonny and Zydox show. Gaben will have his head in his hands after what a horrible time. He's got only himself to blame for the DQ, although the jury is still out on what caused the swerve to the right into the wall in the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an entertaining few laps. I'll give it that. But we're gonna have to see these slick runners coming in. They can't. They surely no. Oh yeah. Yeah. I called it. I mean.
So Alex, you were
Safety
saying
car.
about those slick runners, yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Tell me
safety
more.
car. No, Brandon's doubling down on it. The safety car came out, and he's just like, nope. Mediums are the ones I want. Right. Okay. I can
sort of see the double down after a safety car because you've got 3 more laps to just beam around like an absolute todger while you just spin around and like do an absolute dishonor to the world-renowned sport of motor racing, doing a Renault track walk pace that Traven Impress first treated us to in season 1. He's just going to be slowly coffee beaning it around for 3 laps, hoping that God intervenes, waves forth his hand, and brings back the blanket of rain to reveal a shiny new day in which he can finally get points that aren't won in Austria with the fastest lap attached to it. Instead, he's got the yellow on the tyres and the red face, which with the colour combination that sends him straight to McDonald's, which he nearly did straight there. He's got 13 more laps, 3 of which will be under a safety car. He isn't going to get back to the front of the field. He is just going to be absolutely out of it.
If you want to double down on it. Okay, they're coming in for the slicks now. But like, surely you come in, put on intermediates, then you can catch up to the safety car grid and then go back on slicks.
Even worse. Even worse. They're all going to jump him. And even worse than that, Brandon's on mediums and there's 13 laps left. Soft is the better tyre. He's on a suboptimal tyre that he switched onto earlier, picked up degradation, dropped track positions on, and oh no, he's coming in. He's coming in
for the
again.
softs.
He's
No,
taking the
I'm
extra
fine with
soft.
this.
Oh my god.
I'm fine with this.
It's
This
the
is
best
fine.
strategy call, but it just makes the last 6 laps look like an absolute clown show.
It really does.
Oh man, right. I'm actually going to cut to Sandro Kravitz, who's going to hopefully give us some more laughs with some info on the weather.
All right. Well, it is a very interesting call and strategy, and everybody what they're doing currently. The weather, the rain really stopped. While there, what are you doing? Spinning the pit lane. Thank you very much. The rain stopped. Jeff told them no more rain expected for the next duration of the race. They're calling everybody in now to get onto these soft tires because they expect towards the end of the safety car it will be dry enough to stay on slicks and be faster than the ones on intermediates. Plus, the intermediates, a lot of drivers had like 70% wear, and they would rather risk it to go into the softs now than wait until the intermediates blow up on them.
Sorry, Sandro, you said softs. Did your boy get the message? He's just gone on to wets.
What?
Oh my god.
Actually. What is he doing? He's in the same call. He's in the same call. He's playing a different game.
Okay, yeah. I think Impress is commenting Twitch about Ferrari's real-life strategy applications coming in hot. Yeah. Anyway, cheers, Sandro. You're absolutely right. As the weather gets lighter, it's more and more appropriate for slicks. We did see at the start of Q2 that even though rain was falling, it was appropriate tyres for the softs, as decreed by Jeff. Normally, if most of the grid switched to a tyre, by consensus of the wisdom of crowds, it's the right one to be on. Hodge and Dormin are the 2 ones left on inters. Wilder has basically rolled a D5 for his tyres and come out with wets, and therefore come out with another bonus 30 seconds to the back of the grid. But if the rain suddenly gets worse from here, Hodgson wins. I'm just going to put that out.
Are we going to get another lap 3 pit under the safety car for Hodgson?
What is this? Okay, so Sonny and Zydox, with Gaben gone, and Gaben's passing is one that I still mourn because he had this race until he didn't. Sonny and Zydox are the clear favourites for me. They're on a tyre that most of the grid agree is correct. They're at the front of the field of drivers on that tyre. They've had good pace throughout. They've had pretty good control of their cars throughout, not picking up penalties, being able to race against each other as well. So they're my two favourites at the moment. Wilder correcting his mistake. We didn't actually see what tyre he went on to last lap. Don't worry, Wilder wasn't on stream. No one saw it. So yeah, Sonny, Zydox, Somther and Glenn just behind them as well. You've also, from my opinion, you've also got to look out for Mancho and Miffy. They're fast drivers, whatever conditions they're in. So
car in this lap.
both having that option. With the safety car coming in lap 25, it is going to be an 11-lap race from here on out. That's perfect for our soft runners. A standard stint in a dry race strategy would be 11 or 12 laps into the soft tyre. Hodge is going to lead us out for the start of racing one more time.
He's going to go backwards and then pit under full race conditions.
He's going to do it, isn't he? Go on, Alex, take us through this one.
As we see Hodgson coming around the final corner, is he going to just dip straight into the pits? Yes, he is! I think he is!
Oh my god, so that...
Zydox is catching up to Sonny.
Oh my
is he
god,
going to make a move? Is he going to make a move? Sticks to the outside. Sonny dives down to the inside. Zydox looking to make a move on the outside. Is he going to make it stick? Inside the next corner. Yes, he has made it stick. And now Zydox wins the race. I'm sorry, I can't anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm equally speechless. There's just peals of laughter breaking into everything I do, like at presumably at whatever strategy call Hodgson's in. Z-Way's coming in. Hello, this is Vassar. I'd like to make you an offer, Hodgson. Yeah, I think a random number generator might be a better strategy call at this point. But Hodgson... We're all laughing at Hodge here. We can't do this, guys. Hodge is the most consistent point scorer in VLF1. He's going to get some points today. He has one place to make up on Dorman, or like a mistake from a driver in front. We're all laughing at Hodgson. We should bow down. We're not fit to change Hodgson's tyres. He is a more reliable point scorer than anyone in VLF1. If you want points, you go to Hodgson. That's what happens this season. So let's all bow down. Sorry. Zydox is going to set a fastest lap here. 9 laps to go. It's probably going to be a closer race between Zydox and Sonny at the front. Props to Glenn, however, he's now mixing it with the big boys. He's in P4. We're on board with Envy now, running down to turn 1. We've got Monty in the mix as well. Almost a DRS train. I didn't catch it. We might actually be at the DRS-enabled station, but we're sort of around that level. The rain is ending. Normally, the DRS activating again is the best sign of a crossover. Since the tyre crossover has happened, we're likely to have a situation where the DRS comes on. Shouldn't
laugh this much, but like, what was that about him getting points? He just picked up the 3-second time penalty.
Hey, you know what? I said it and I meant it. The Mexico City Federal. Hodgson's in points. Hodgson's in points. Hodgson's in points. Yeah, this is the finest form of grandstanding right now. Envy as... I feel bad for Envy. Hodge, will he hit another driver that's dead on track? No, he doesn't. What an amazing improvement. Redemption arc for him. Envy is one of the lowest point scorers in the championship at the moment. I was really rooting for him to score points, add to his P9 over in Sao Paulo. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. He doesn't get points today. Similar story to Gaben. Dorman is in the box though. I think he picked up wing damage from his last encounter. Either that or he needs a little bit of chamomile tea and a cry from the emotional damage that he just suffered. He's going to be replaced on track by Hodgson, who's into P8. It's worth saying this is a safety car. It is the third full safety car of this 50% Grand Prix. So the track position will be brought back together again. It's come out on lap 28, so at the most it will last until the end of lap 30, giving us a 6-lap race to the line. It might be worth a lot of the drivers towards the back who are already in massive delta spaces switching on to even fresher softs. I think Dorman has made that move. If I could ask production to move to the tyre life board, just to show us what we're moving on here. Okay, yeah, so we've got Wilder leaving the pits now. Dorman is on the fresh softs as well. Blaze is following that line as well. 2 penalties on the board for Hodge and Wilder, I believe both 3 seconds. The front of the field is all pretty uniformly on 2 3-lap-old softs, which can finish the race in this single stint. They're all race legal. The front 7 drivers don't have penalties. They'll all be in the DRS train. It's going to be glorious. Alex, I don't know how to react here. It's just every couple laps we see a new driver sliding their way into unparalleled cataclysm.
Like, we're in a scenario where not only after this race Hodgson is scoring points, it's more than 1 point. I can't. I'm done. Like, that's not. That can't be illegal.
Later on, my good friend Alex, I will get your reaction when Hodge gets on the podium. I can't even laugh. That's a possibility. Zydox and Sunny are still the clear favourites here. But I said that about Gaben, and Gaben is now eating in the Mexico City McDonald's. The safety car is out for its second lap on lap 29. Dorman and Wild are at the back of the field still. Drivers taking the chance to get to fresh softs, especially when they're at the back of the grid. If Somther, for example, just picking a random driver in the front stack, were to switch onto a fresh set of softs, they would lose all the track position and they would have gone back several places. However, for Blaze, who was already way clear in front and behind, he doesn't really lose anything meaningful for going for that fresh set. Maybe can get himself a pace advantage because the rain is now gone. The track is drying up. I can't say that it's optimal conditions at the moment. I think only in the final few laps we might see a truly dry track with maximum track evolution. We will still see the spins. We'll still see drivers who have maybe set up their cars for rain or otherwise inclement conditions, struggling to reconcile their wet setups with the dry track. But the racing is going to get faster. We're going to see faster racing, probably the fastest lap decided in these last sort of 6 laps. And anyone who is battling Zydox or Sunny should make themselves known now, because those two are probably going to accelerate away. They were the best performers in the wet. They will probably be the best performers in the dry, if not because of the sweatboard, but because of the standing in the World Drivers' Championship. Alex, how are we doing? How's your head?
It's not, if I'm honest.
It hadn't.
Yeah. All I can say is the hashtag Somther win.
You know what? It's possible. It's more than possible. It's not probable, but he's third. Sunny and Zydox have got close before. I can see them colliding. Did Sunny just reverse and brake check Somther then? I want to see if there's damage. I don't think there's damage. But that was
Doesn't look like it.
That was a certified. Oh, Somther might have just hit the wall as well. He's just thrown at the moment. Sunny and Zydox a second apart. The restart has happened. We're now in a certified 7-lapper. 7-bapper, it's not that deep unless you're Gaben, in which case you're at the bottom of the scoreboard. F. Zydox leading out Sunny, going into turn 1, half a second gap. This is full slicks here. There's a mark out to the side. It's Blaze just getting a scenic view of the turn before plowing back into the line. Real close driving hours now. I didn't see the notification at the time, but I'll be very surprised if DRS isn't active. It should be active 3 laps after the restart, so for the final 5 laps, about 32 onwards, we'll be seeing the DRS when drivers are within a second of the car in front within a DRS zone. There are 2 activation zones as marked by the green dots on the minimap, in the middle of Sector 2 and at the end of the stadium in Sector 3. And there are 3 DRS straights, the main straight, the straight after the first set of chicanes in Sector 1, and then you've got the bit after the S's. Monty is actually really close to Mancho here. I'm loving the way Monty is handling his car here. He is threatening an overtake, as we see a Ferrari go way to the side. Monty is very close to Mancho still. Not quite making the move happen. Zydox still leads out Sunny. Miffy and Hodgson in a big train behind Mancho. Glenn is consolidating his position in P4, and in fact, going one better, getting within a second of Somther in P3. Lap 31 starts, 6 laps to go with Zydox, then Sunny taking the purple of the fastest lap.
As we see, the front two of Zydox and Sunny have broken away from Sontha, so hashtag Sontha win isn't in the cards unless a big mistake. So we see a massive train forming behind Mancho. No one really going for the move, as we see Brandon picking up a 3-second time penalty to make matters worse for him. That will drop him down in the order behind Dormin. And yeah, so... yeah, it's a train forming, and I think most cars are going to stay in these positions until DRS is activated, which, as you said, should be next lap. Awkwardly, because the DRS detection for the first 2 DRS zones is in the previous lap, we will only have 1 DRS zone on the lap it gets activated. We see Monty almost losing his car, very nicely controlled there by him. Sometimes it's very hard to keep your car controlled in those high-speed wiggles, and he did really well there. So we see a massive snake just forming through the stadium section as we see DRS enabled, and Monty picking up a 3-second time penalty. Mancho is going to be loving seeing that in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, well said, Alex. Look at those invalidations. We've got 4 already. It was a pretty clean race in terms of corner cutting in the wet conditions. Now that we're getting into the dry conditions, it's more breakneck pace. It's faster reactions. You suddenly have to control being in those track lines. It's a lot harder to keep legal, as we see a little doot there from Monty on the back of, I think that was Miffy in the AlphaTauri colours. So yeah, the invalidations happening. We saw it on 12 of 15 drivers in Season 5, the last time this was race 2 races from the end of the season. But yeah, we're seeing that creep into the back of the grid, the back off the grid with indiscipline. 4 of the back 4 drivers here. 11 on the track, 10 will get points, assuming 10 or more finish. So points being given out to Blaze at the moment. I single him out because it's been a while since he had points. Hashtag no cast a curse. He needs to improve and recover on his discipline, though. Hodgson is in P8 and chasing down Monty. Again, that little train starting to form. Massive gap from Sumther in P3 to the 2 ahead. Sumther has got podiums 4 times already this season this way, just being ahead of everyone that isn't called Sunny or Zydox. Glenn is consolidating well as well. He's just inside the DRS range of Mancho. And here we are, we're going to see the activation zone happen. This is the start of lap 33. For the line, there was Codged off to the side. I didn't get to see who it was. It's a McLaren. I think that's Wilder. I think he hit a car in the stadium section. That's a VSC, second VSC of the race, and it will occupy the first half of lap 33. Wilder is going to pick up a 3-second time penalty as well. That's pretty much putting paid to his prospect of points in this Mexico Grand Prix. 4 laps to go.
Yeah, it looks like he's picked up wing damage, so pitting to replace that wing. Really unfortunate for him. Obviously, this VSC neutralizes the race, but he's going to be so far behind the grid unless something spectacular happens. We're not even going to get a full safety car now. But yeah, it neutralizes the race, gives Zydox a bit more time to hold off Sunny for the lead of this race. And obviously neutralizes that big train we had in the middle that were within DRS of each other, neutralizes it for most of this lap until we go green again, and then we'll hopefully start to see some overtakes as we see we are back to green racing.
Yeah, green flag coming down. I was on Delta watch then to see if anyone had exceeded the Delta. And Blaze has retired, almost as if on cue. He's got a chance of getting points and immediately throws it to the nearest wolf. And there it is. He's out of the race, just inside the classification distance. And Wilder just needs to limp past him to get into P10 there. What an absolutely horrific time for Blaze. He has done this so many times before, but he's going to be out of points. He's handed Wilder a lifeline. He cannot hold water. He is the leakiest jug on the grid. I hate to say it, but he's proven it time and time again. Last 3 laps with points on the line. Biggest throw since Michael Jordan in Chicago Bulls outfit. He is going to be out of this race, and Hodgson is almost confirmed for points here. Hodge in a battle now with Monty, going past the man in Alpine. He's got Miffy in his sights, and Mancho has gone past Glenn at the same time, both cleanly racing, no penalties for either of them. Mancho 2.5 seconds behind Sumther. Glenn now with Miffy on his tail. This will be a close race for the remaining 3 laps. And purple sector coming in for Mancho. He's absolutely pogging it right now.
Yeah, he's really maybe looking to close in for that final podium position, take that off Sumther. Sunny looking to close in, as we see tangling between Monty and Dormin. Dormin spinning out. Is he going to hit the wall spinning round? No, just avoids it. From what I can see, doesn't look like he's picked up any damage, and Monty, I believe, did pick up damage, and I'm not sure whether that was him giving the position back to Dorman, saying, "My mistake, lad, have the position back," but I also think Monty's picked up damage. I don't know whether it was from the same incident, as we see him trying to find the nearest Burger King. McDonald's is all full right now, and we see Miffy overtaking Glenn using that DRS zone well before turn 1, and he'll have that DRS into the next DRS zone to maybe start chasing down Mancho as well.
Yeah, as you point out, Alex, there's 2 back-to-back DRS zones, both from the same detection angle at the end of Sector 3 on the previous lap 34. So Hodge is now going to be chasing down Glenn here. He's got the run on him. He's using his battery. He's deploying his DRS. And there he is. He's first to the inside. That looked really close between the 2 cars there. Glenn having the inside track as we get to the stadium. Hodge staying within tracking distance. He's almost putting the front of his car right up Glenn's chuffer. It's looking really close between the 2 of them. Glenn is going to go into the S section. He's looked pretty good at this so far, so definitely no caster cursing can happen at this juncture. Hodge is within half a second as we go round. Good field in front of, good field behind them. Glenn has kept it fairly clean. Hodge might go for a manoeuvre here, looking for the inside as we go into the stadium. That was clean by Hodge, fair play. And Hodge is going to move into the stadium, clear ahead. Bollard check, that's the most important thing. Oh no, the bollard's gone. You hate to see it.
I wonder if that was Wilder when he had the incident through there, as we see Sonny making a move for the lead, dives down the outside with DRS and makes the move stick, and will have that DRS for the next section, so should be able to keep that lead unless Zydox... as I say that, Zydox picks up a time penalty. That's really unfortunate for him, as he sees Sonny driving away with that DRS zone, and Glenn getting overtaken by Hodgson, maybe looking for a defense of that position, but no luck there for him.
You hate to see it. Sonny and Zydox were so close, they were almost unmatched through the wet part of the race, through the dry part of the race, they're really close. No infringements until now. And there it is. Sonny is getting 3 seconds of time penalty. You know what? I love it. It puts the racing back on. They still have to beat each other on track. It would have been easy for one just to drop behind the other. In fact, if I get an interview with Sonny at any point, I'm going to ask him if it was deliberate to get that extra penalty, because they can now sort of race on equal terms. I love Zydox is going to make massive contact there. I think that's a bit of Zydox's wing gone. Sonny not quite with the brake check, and Zydox is going to spin Sonny. This is hot podium territory right here. This is lap 36 of 36, and that's going to be coming through. Zydox for the win on the final lap. And that could have gone any number of ways. Something is going to come home for P3. Clean record for him. Mancho in P4, Miffy 5. Hodgson is going to come round, will be dropped down to P7 after serving his penalty. Glenn promoted into P6. Now we get the tail end of the grid. Blaze, if you're watching, you could have been here in P7, P8. Monty is going to retire from the session, but based on the classification rules, 90%, he will classify into P10 and get that point. Just ahead of him is Wilder with that McLaren. How close was that between Zydox and Sonny? It was going so quickly, Alex. I didn't even realise that was the final few corners of the race.
Yeah, same for me. I thought Zydox was going to pit, but obviously last lap of the race doesn't need to. And I want to watch it again, but for me, that almost looked malicious, that final send on Sonny, spinning him out. That looked a bit of frustration to me. He'd lost his wing, and maybe he pushed Sonny out wide to take the win. So we'll have to see what the stewards say. But overall, for me, that didn't look like the most savoury ending to the race.
Yeah, I did like the almost gentlemanly aspect of both picking up 3-second time penalties on what was in essence the final lap. But yeah, it was down for racing. Sonny, I think, could have moved faster in that final sector, but could argue that he was repositioning over to the left. As you say, Alex, it's up to the stewards. One thing that's not up to the stewards, however, is the driver of the day, and that goes over to driver number 25 in Red Bull colours. That is your boy Hodgson, obviously massively deserving with brilliant strategy calls throughout the entirety of the race. He's just absolutely smurfed everyone with his giant brain. Continues the unrivaled record in Valence League F1 of getting points every single time. That's 13 in a row. You cannot break this man's streak. You can throw weather conditions, horrible decisions. You can throw like weird drivers going from back to front. You can throw DNFs either side of him. He just soldiers on. You should look up to this guy because he's the most resilient driver in the grid. What an amazing drive by Hodgson, our driver of the day, to get back into P7. And I'm not even being ironic in the second half of that race because he left himself in a giant hole and he dug himself out of it.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree. He is so lucky. Like there was not an ounce of skill involved in getting back up to there. That was pure luck. I'm sorry. I can't be having that slanderous talk.
Yeah. We can't be painting Hodge as a good Red Bull driver, not least when I consider my casting partner and my production man, Travis. Yeah, we've got Gaben was in line to take that race from the start. However, races aren't decided at the start. You actually have to drive them, and Gaben didn't. He only drove like half of it before sending his back end into a wall and then spinallering into a pit wall and then trying to do the sneaky shortcut speedrun any percent route into the pit wall. Yeah, it didn't happen for him. He got disqualified, as is apparently an Aston Martin tradition at this point. And yeah, I do want to see that last bit again between Zydox and Sunny. Zydox taking, on paper, until the stewards decide things, that will be his 7th win in 13 races. He's won more than half the races, and Sunny coming in a very close second. Their best lap was within 200ths of each other. They were going point for point on each other all race. They even had identical time penalties towards the end, 3 seconds apiece. It just looked like maybe a bit of either brake checking or aggressive maneuvers. Unsavory is the word Alex used, and I've got to agree with him. It's maybe not the way you'd have wanted a race to end, but I do like that they were fighting for position until the very last lap of the race. As it happens, in European League of Legends, everyone beats everyone and then Fnatic wins in the end. In VLF1, everyone sort of crashes into everyone. Hodge makes bad decisions, and Zydox and Sunny fight for the win. That's how it happens. You can't spin it any other way. Hashtag Something is dead. Gaben's car is dead. Brandon throws points at the end. Hodge makes bad decisions. Everyone makes horrible pit strategies. Shadowhopper tries some weird strategy. Wilder tries some weird wet tire that no one else is on. Alpine somehow throw points out of the window, and then Envy does a Max Verstappen tilt simulator halfway through the race. I think that's about the best way I can sum up all of the events that happened. But on the positive side, I have to commend the way the top few drivers kept it clean, didn't pick up any infringements. I believe that was the case for our, apart from Zydox and Sunny, the 4 drivers behind them had clean races. So Sumther, Mancho, Miffy, Glenn. 3rd through 6th, all having clean races. They were within 10-11 seconds of the race leaders. Had pretty comparable fastest laps, had 1 or 2 stop races. So yeah, there's a lot to be drawn from them. Glenn, P6 is an amazing finish. Mancho, Miffy, and Sumther getting really good finishes as well. If we take a look at how they've done recently, Miffy is sort of zeroing in on P6 or within 2 positions of it. Sumther, it needs a bit of a return to form after retiring in the 100% last week. So, yeah, there is light to be found, but it's amidst a clown show and some unsavory incidents.
Yeah, it certainly has been one of the races of all time. And I think we're just going to have to leave it there. It definitely existed.
Yeah, it was a race. Things happened, and we can keep talking about them. But first, let's get off this desk and get back to the warm studio. So I have to thank you all for watching the race. It's been a pleasure to cast. Alex isn't done yet. He's going to quickly teleport downstairs like a Kassadin Riftwalk, and he's going to be joining our finest Kravitz. So I'm going to hand you over to our commentary team, which is Charmander and Capyrofire.
Oh my god, what a race! Oh my god! And the funniest thing about all of that is joining them calls sometimes and the reaction or listening what they're talking to. Oh my days! You know what? You know what the funniest thing is? When Hodgson and I think Dorman it was who didn't pit. What was it, Dorman? I think it was.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah. You know what the funniest thing is? I joined the call because I think maybe they're talking about strategy or something. They're talking about safety car colors, like how they
Oh,
were back in the days. I was like, hello? No one mentioning that you're still on intermediates. And then they're surprised that the safety car comes in because the whole grid caught up. What? They actually intended to pit on lap 3 of the safety car. And they should be at. And how is this better than the safety car coming in and then pitting? It's the same! It's literally the same! I don't
I,
understand.
it's certainly it was interesting watching it. It was yeah, it was a mad series of events. I think what one driver we've not really mentioned in all the chaos who sort of benefited most from everything, Somther. Obviously moving up to get his 48th or something stupid podium position. Overall, a really great race from Somther. I would say great race from Sonny and Zydox, but that ending happened. So yeah, I
Um,
don't really know. It was a case of every driver messed up at some point, and overall we had the usual top three. So nothing to move, nothing to talk about, and on to the next one.
No, this race was way too good for Mexico race. I mean, I don't even know what happened half of the time. Especially like you said, the end with Psyducks and Sunny. What the hell was that? Well, I watched it and it did look like he was just saying, "Get out of my way," and he just pushed him to the side. Huh? I mean, the stewards 100% are gonna look at that. But it will be interesting to see who is in the right, if he did it intentionally or not. And like you said, yeah, Santa being or getting that podium as well is like this race actually just showed who has the most luck and who has the worst luck. Nothing else. You didn't see skill today. You just saw who had the best luck and who had the worst luck.
Yeah,
And
I think overall, I don't think any driver is going to come out of this and say, yes, the Mexican Grand Prix was a good race. I enjoyed that one. I think being in the cockpit, I don't think there's much you can do other than just take the points you've got and sort of move on. But yeah, we'll have to see what the reactions of the drivers are when we get them. But overall, it was entertaining at the very least, and I think it. We can't really say much about the lead, only because of obviously, maybe the stewards' reviews, given what's happened. So I'm a bit of a loss as to what to analyze because of everything that went on. There could still be so much that happens after the race.
oh my god, yeah. And but the thing is, we can start a little bit from the beginning. So the wet race, the start was wet and everything was going smoothly. We had actually a fairly clean start, and everything just went downhill from the start on. And the drier the track got, the more booky things were happening. I don't know what happened to the drivers. They were like, yeah, right. Now that we're on the dry, I'm allowed to do anything, I guess. Uh, but yeah, we had so many DNFs, mainly because the back end stepping out, slippery. Like I said, the wet is not for everybody, for every driver, and we had things like that happen. Then we had DNFs because of debris on the track. We had spinnerinos here and there. Then we had Gaben, a really unfortunate disqualification because he spun and didn't turn around, so he was facing the wrong way and got DNF'd. Not the NFT is cute, but then we had normal tire strategy from Hodgson, normal in quotes. We had very interesting tire strategies from Brandon, from everyone that switched to the medium tire way too quick. Because I agree, even if you switch from the wet, I don't know if the medium tire is the best if it's still raining. Um, then we have to Um, Wilder that just pitted onto the wets when it was drying up, and everybody pitted to the mediums. It's it was interesting transition into then just everything getting worse because suddenly nobody knew anymore how to drive as well. Just bumping into each other, just spinning, just and then people getting points because Brendan decides he'd rather visit Burger King, like you said, than finish the race. So I don't know, and Dodgen actually getting points and quoting him not being lucky. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take a bold claim here and say that is the most chaotic F1 race we've had in VL. I think some people would say like Brazil or the Spa races in season 3, but it in season 4. But for me, they were very big one incidents that involved the entire grid. This was definitely the most extended period across an entire race, in my opinion. So it was. I'm definitely glad I got to watch it and experience it live.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm lost for words. I need some drama scene because I'm honestly like I said I was sometimes in the calls and the amount of things that were going on or talked about, especially with Hodgson and Dorman, with that they were so surprised that the safety car comes in. Okay, I mean, we just leave it at that. But that they think a lap 3 safety car pit stop, even if it doesn't come in, is a good call. Uh, I mean, Ferrari gets clowned on, but that's just a different level. I mean, Ferrari at least don't do lap 3 safety car pit stops, and I don't know, and then the likes of Sunny and Sidox at the end. Whew, because both of them had 3-second penalties. It was close to the end. Just the last corner where they bumped into each other. I don't know. I don't have the gap in front of me anymore. But if let's say one of those get a 5-second penalty, Santa might even jump to either second, or maybe if both of them get a penalty, first place. I don't wanna say anything, but it's possible, you know.
It is, but if we're being honest, if you're something, do you want your first win to come after that?
Yeah, okay, yeah, of course not. But you still take the 25 points, right?
Well, sure.
Wouldn't see it as a first win because you technically didn't win, but you still take the 25 points. But
Yeah.
can we
So
ask him? Production ask can we put him in? Let's see if we can get him in.
Hello.
Hello, Samta. How is it going?
I'm good.
You're good. You're good. How did you enjoy the race?
Well, I prefer Mexico in the wet because it is a trash track. It was okay. It was a good race, Good result. Not expecting it at all. Bit of a mixed result. Bit of a mixed race, wet into dry. So there's some confusing strategy calls by some drivers. Not naming any names.
Before I really want to
good.
jump into a really spicy question, I would just want to ask you one thing beforehand. When Brandon pitted on the mediums, was there a plan behind it? Did he just say, "I'm gonna try it out for you guys," or was he just honestly thinking it was the best strategy?
No, so like Jeff was like 5 minutes to dry, 5 minutes to dry, or like 5 minutes to not raining anymore, or whatnot. And we were both umming and ahhing about doing it. And I was like, you know what? I'll just copy whatever Sunny and Zydox do. And then go from there. I don't need to risk trying mediums at the moment, but I did consider it. And then Brandon tried it, and it just it just didn't dry up at all during
Ah,
the safety
okay.
car.
Well, fair
Um,
enough.
So yeah, I mean, we contemplated it, but yeah, it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was a little bit early, but to be fair, Brent wasn't the only one. There were some drivers that tried the mediums a little bit early on,
Yeah.
and realized it was not the right tire for now. I mean, the track takes a little while until it dries up as well, even if it stops raining. Um, but I don't know if you know what happened at the last lap between Zydox and Sun.
I did, and there was a brief vision of me passing them both when they were buried into the wall. But unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, they both managed to get it moving again.
I mean,
Yeah.
I already said to Charmander, there might be a possibility that both of them get punished, or
I
even one of them
know.
get
I'm
punished.
I'm aware. I don't know. It'd be a race win. I feel like a kind of cheap race win, you know.
It does, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
would you? I mean, besides that, it wouldn't really feel satisfying, obviously, because being the first race win like this. But I mean, you wouldn't say no to this 25 points, right?
I won't turn them down if that's what you're asking. Not that I have to anyway. No, I mean I wouldn't, but I mean I was lucky to get third that race. Really. I mean Mancho had more pace than me on the wets to start with. I'm not really sure what happened. I don't know if he picked up damage or anything. But he had a bit of a wobbly moment and then seemed to be missing a bit of pace. So I'm not sure if he picked up damage. Gaben was like super quick in quali, but somehow wiped himself out under the safety car. So yeah, I mean, happy with third. I was surprised with Glenn's pace at the end as well. After that last safety car restart, I can't even remember how many there were now.
Too many. Too
Yeah,
many.
it was alright, you know. I went in not expecting much. Obviously, I had a 3 grid pen, and I don't have a track. I don't think I had that much pace on it, and the difference between myself and like Sonny, Zydox, Gaben, and Mancho was ridiculous on this track. But you know, it worked out. 7 people died, and I wasn't one of them. So
I
we
mean,
move.
it must have been scary at times, seeing all the DNF debris on the track, not knowing what's happening.
Well, I didn't actually pass anyone who had like died, apart from Gaben wiping himself out in the safety car. I wasn't near anyone when they died or crashed. So I wasn't having to dodge car corpses like I'm sure some people further back were. So from my perspective, it's quite a chill race. Just mixed up 17 safety car restarts. So yeah.
I mean, fair enough. We were fortunately enough to just pre-position getting it towards the top without really affecting anything else. You were one last thing from me. I don't know if Chamanda has any questions, but you were complaining about the safety car restarts that they were kind of slow.
They were very slow. I believe it had greater implications further back down the field. Yeah, I mean they were just very slow. I don't know if that's how slow they needed to be. I don't know if whoever was restarting needed to leave such a big gap between them and the safety car. But yeah, the safety car restarts were extremely slow, but I didn't do one, so I you know, not in a position to comment on how correct or incorrect that is. And obviously the impacts of that weren't too bad, being in third for most of the time.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know if you have any questions.
No, not that I can think of. I think everything I always wanted to ask has already been answered.
Fair enough. Well, then, Samta, thank you very much. Enjoy the third place for now. Who knows?
Thank you. Thank you
Maybe
very
we'll
much.
get more
And
points.
I'll make sure to watch the stream back later on as well.
Yeah, you will see. There happened a lot. A lot happened.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks you two and Travis directing as well and Cradden as well. And yeah, I don't know if you've got anyone else coming up, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else is coming up as well. Doesn't look like it today, but I mean, it's interesting to see. I actually, something was, I think, in that part also a little bit lucky that he didn't get that many or didn't had to pass that many dead cars. Um, not like some other drivers like Franklin who cost him the race because he got
Yeah.
puncture. Or any other drivers that had to maybe swerve and lose time or anything like that. Which is very interesting. Now, though, I don't know about you, but apart from the fact that Gaben was really unfortunately, is there you think any other driver who should have been maybe at the top, at least in the wet, at the top, who then got hit by maybe a little bit more unluck than he needed to?
I think overall, I think the race eventually played out like it should have done. Let me just bring up the results so I can refresh myself. If you give me a second. Yeah. I think, given what Sonny was saying, I think Glenn maybe could have been slightly higher up in the order during his pace because of his pace during the restarts. But overall, I think given the strategy calls that were involved, the top four, for instance, all only made one stop, and that was their obviously their stop onto slicks. So I think overall, given what went on, I think it was eventually a fair result, apart from Hodgson, who didn't deserve anywhere close to the points, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I think overall, relatively fair result. And obviously, as I've said before, it was a great drive by Somther. I know he said he got lucky, but he did have to put his car in that position. So, yeah, overall, clean race from the top. Well,
Barely.
okay, I can't even say that. So it was a clean race from at least one of the drivers on the track. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, I mean, I don't wanna drag it too long since also we don't have any other drivers who want to get interviewed. Arjun being probably too scared of the questions we're gonna ask him. Um, but yeah, in the World Championship, nothing really changed. We still have the same amount of position, the same amount of points. Everybody is apart from the top two who can maybe change still. So far, Sadox is still in first in the World Drivers' Championship. Sunny's still in second. Everybody else below that also hold their position. Um, just to really quick to point out, that's the second retirement from Gaben. Um, he had so far only 4 or 5 races who he did not either did not race or went outside the points. Mexico being one of those, and he practiced quite a lot for it. So it will be interesting to see moving forward if his mental is not taking a toll, maybe, which could lead either to worse performance or if his mental is saying, well, now we have to prove it even more. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what you think about that one. If Chamanda, if you think Zydox Gaben is being a little bit more pessimistic now, maybe.
I I think he wants this win. I don't think he's going to be a driver that's going to just sort of give up because of a few bad races. I think now he's decided he wants to win. He's proven he's got the pace. It's just a case of doing it for an entire race. And I think as long as he doesn't make stupid mistakes, and you know Gabe, like I don't think he's the kind of character to start making, you know, mistakes because he's pushing too far. I think, yeah, I think the win will come. He just needs to sort of keep practicing as much as well, maybe not as much as he has been, but he needs to keep practicing because he's clearly got the pace, and it's just a case of putting it on track at the right weekend.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate from him, but I think you're right on this one. I think he still wants to improve. He still wants to show everybody that he still has it in him. So far he's behind the lucky man Hodgson, or not lucky man Hodgson, by 32 points. So he has a little bit of catching up to do if he wants to finish in the World Drivers' Championship fourth or higher, because he's even 45 points behind Samtha. So currently, yeah, the not helping or not being a runner up to Sunny at this point. But I mean, other than that, he's usually really, really well. I just want to point out really quick that because even though Gaben is really a quick driver, it reflects a little bit on his consistency. I think being fifth in the World Drivers' Championship, the likes of Dorman also only being 4 points behind him. And Miffy as well. Miffy's, I think, even only 7 points behind him, or six. Don't call me on that one. My math is not good. um, but yeah, it's very interesting to see. A lot to be played out for. The top is still not yet decided. The third place can still catch up to first place, in this case being Samta. Who knows what the next races will hold for us. But like I said, I don't want to hold up too long. And with that, I think that's it. I don't know what race production. Do you know what race the next week is gonna be?
I can have a look. It will be the US Grand Prix, so Circuit of the Americas.
Oh ho ho ho! Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Credit, as well. You guys said it at the same time he wrote it. All right. Thank you, guys. Hope everybody had an amazing race watching this one. Thank you very much to Credit as well. Chamina, obviously casting on the desk and during the race, doing both of that one. Travis for the production. Thank you, all of the production team. It was a very, very pleasant evening, night. I think, as you say, at this point it's 11 p.m. for me, 10 p.m. for you guys probably. And with that, I hope I can see you guys in the next weekend, where we're still fighting for first place in the World Drivers' Championship. And I think most of us are still gonna be here casting, and I hope I see you guys as well. Hmm.
Anyway,
Good
here's
night.
some Tentacle.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing, singing in the rain. Dancing in the rain, again.